And we are live. Welcome in, everyone, to the first of the 2-week off season or off break or off time, whatever you want to, the Olympic time NWP. I am, of course, joined by, I'm pointing in the right direction this time, my co-host Eric Estep.
You jump scared me when you said, I was falling asleep over here during the intro. We can't hear the intro in our ears. It's muted for us, so it's just an awkward silence. And then I was, shook awake. How's it going,
Hello,
Jared?
here we are. Hi, how's it going?
And there also is my co-host Danny B. I'm pointing to, and down low, it's the downward spiral man himself, EmpLemon. How's it going, man?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is good to be back on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, and we are going to get into the festivities soon. But just so you know that I've been summoned when I have something to complain about. And this last Sunday's race, we're going to get into it in a moment, but folks, hope you buckle up and get ready to enjoy the ride.
Yes, it is going to be a ride. But really quick, before we get on that ride, I have a small bit of business to attend to. I know more than likely he is not watching right now, but I'm going to, just on the off chance, say this anyway. To my brother Riley, happy birthday. I believe he's turning 22 today.
Happy birthday, Riley, 22 years old.
Do you not know how old your own brother is, Jared?
I mean, he was born in 2002, so I'm assuming 22 based on math.
All right.
Your brother's Riley Herbst. Oh my gosh.
No. But Riley, happy birthday. I see they're spamming happy birthday in the chat. Just wanted to say that right off the bat as we're jumping on in. But let's jump on in to the Brickyard. And normally we start out these by talking about the winner or something, kind of, leading in about how big the event was. And I think the event was pretty big, but I think we need to start with the last 10, 15, 30 laps. So let's lay out the story here. Last run of the race, it is Brad Keselowski running the miracle fuel strategy. You got Ryan Blaney right behind him, dogging him, fuming in the helmet as always, and then zipping, zigging, zagging through the pack is Kyle Larson, driving it like it's an IndyCar race, because that's what he looked like out there. It looked like a slow motion Indy 500 on his part. And it's a 3-horse race coming to the finish. And Eric, I'm going to have you start off here, seeing how we had a pretty big Ford battle in front. And I know that you had that Ford nose right there, just leaning into any little bit of switcheroos that we can when it comes to talking here.
And it's dusty, too. I hadn't touched it in a while. I should have dusted that long time ago. It was like a layer of dust. Filthy. This race was...
preserve it as well possible to be magnetic forever.
This race was shaping up to be have an all-time classic finish. The race itself, was fine. It was typical single groove Brickyard 400, but the strategy played out very interestingly. You laid it out perfectly there, Jarrett. Keselowski trying to bring another Ford to victory lane on fumes. Something has to be investigated. Ford clearly has something figured out with their gas mileage that the other two OEMs don't. I don't think he makes it, but boy, if he had, that would have been a hell of a storyline. Ryan Blaney behind him probably was going to make it. I mean, he ultimately did make it. He was going to make it. The question then was, can Blaney hold off Kyle Larson? And I know we'll dwell on Larson a bit later, as he did go on to win the race, but Larson to me was the story in the closing laps. The passing everyone from 20th up to 3rd. I know a lot of the field was saving fuel, but the moves he made, like you said, Jarrett, late entry, cut to the left, aggressive blocks. He was going lower, like down to the grass, looked like an IndyCar race, but only at 190, 195 miles per hour. And the redemption after what happened Memorial Day weekend, is this the same as winning the Indy 500? No, but I bet this feels as good as if he had finished top 5 in the Indy 500, which is what looked like was going to happen before that speeding penalty. So some form of redemption, perhaps. I'm glad they ran that McLaren-style scheme once again. So, the story was shaping up to be great until Kyle freaking Busch had to ruin it for everyone.
I love the memes that have come out about it, where it's like Kyle Busch, anytime he has a above 26th place finish, riding already, and it's just him running into a wall full speed. Him, it's like I saw one where it was the Mayhem guy from, I think, the Allstate commercials. It's like, recalculating, turn right now, and it shows him go up the track into the wall.
I think I saw one where it was like one of the NASCAR wrecks from Family Guy, and one where it's the Ricky Bobby insane flip at Charlotte.
And so this leads into, this leads into the part, Emp, that drew you here.
Yes, in fact.
So let's start with let's start us off with
let it rip.
Yeah, just let it rip to start with, and then we'll go into specifics here. I want Danny to lead us off on the first specific one. But go for it, Emp. Go for it.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that right before this, I was just glued to my seat. This was going to be an all-time finish. So interesting, differing strategies and everything. Kyle Larson, his whole story with being in the Indy 500 earlier this year, and then storming through the field, clearly having the most experience, clearly having the best handle on the car, but Ryan Blaney has the track position, and then in front of him, Keselowski is about to run out of gas, but he might be able to make it. And it all goes out the window because Kyle Busch, the wheels figuratively and almost literally came off. Sorry, Kyle Busch, but you're in Jimmy territory now, as much as it pains me to say. But you know what? I went through the pain of watching Jimmy get wiped out and DNFing in another race, and this time he was actually running decently, and he got wiped out. So, Kyle Busch, sorry, you're in Jimmy territory. Welcome to the decline.
See,
after this moment,
see,
I started having this sinking feeling. I started thinking like, oh no, dude, it's gonna be another one of these. It's gonna be, and I don't know what the cursing policy is on this show. I'm gonna try to exercise restraint over the next few minutes, but oh God, getting flashbacks to Nashville, getting flashbacks to most of like the Daytona 500s and Talladega races in the last 5 years. I just keep thinking to myself, oh God, here comes the clusterfuck. So we get not only we get the whiplash of getting reset from what was going to be a great finish. Now we're like, oh no, they're going to line them all up again. And Keselowski, now he's definitely going to be out of it, basically, when he could have plausibly run the distance if it had stayed green. And I don't know how many laps they ran under caution. It was like 2 or 3 or 4, but it seems like it would have been plausible that he would have been able to make it to the finish, but now that's out of the picture. And then, but for some reason, he knows he's running out of gas. And I swear, if Ford wins the championship this year, it's not going to be because they work together as a manufacturer, because for whatever reason, these guys they're acting like they're on the opposite team. Because for whatever reason, Keselowski is going to come into the pits. I don't know if he literally decided that moment right when the pace car pulled in. It's like, okay, time to pit, out of gas anyway. But they didn't make it clear to the 12 team. They didn't make it clear to anyone. He just jumps into the pits, and then Larson, for some reason, just gets to go from P3 to P1 and get the inside line. Not that it would have mattered much anyway, because they completely wiped each other out going into turn 1. Like half the field gets completely destroyed, and great, it's a red flag. And then great, the news has to cut in and tell us it's Jover at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So
except on the West Coast.
Maybe the West Coast got a good treat to see the race end under caution anyway after 45 minutes of waiting. And folks, it's not pretty. I want to also preface this by saying that after this race, I got physically ill, 101-degree fever, been sick and coughing and sneezing over the last 3 days ever since this race. So it's safe to say that the ending of this race literally made me sick.
Wow.
Danny.
That's poetry right there.
How about you, man? Let's start out with the Brad part here for you, Danny. And I want you to break down what you saw in this whole deal, and then heading into as you said, the part where we all realize that the time on NBC is over.
Yeah, that was quite the ordeal, and I'm like, I don't know. It's pretty clear the six knew that they weren't good to go, and I'm shocked. I guess like it's just like what, and the weird thing is they don't have to push too much because they have a win. So I didn't know like why are we gambling too much here? You guys know you're not gonna make it. Like I guess it's because it's the allure of Brad's not gonna have many more chances at going after these crown jewel wins, so just trying to get it while the iron's hot. But I don't know. It was an odd decision to me. I just not one that I'm usually maybe I'm a little biased towards people at RFK because we got some good friends that work there and they're just a good group of people. But that was one of those head scratchers for me for sure.
I don't blame them for staying out as long as they did. My problem is once everyone chose, and you had Larson chose behind Keselowski, but more importantly, Blaney chose outside of Keselowski. I haven't gone back. I don't know if anyone's posted the radio replay, but right in that moment, Jonathan Hassler and the whole 12 team needs to be radioing to Blaney that, hey, if the 6 runs out here on the pace lap, because that's a minute-long lap at least, minute and a half.
Control car.
Yeah, let him know he's the control car. Make sure he fully understands the rules. And I think ultimately Blaney did know he was the control car. It may not have made a difference because Larson got a really good jump and Blaney was now stuck in the non-preferred lane. I'm not sure it would have made much of a difference, but if they didn't communicate that to him and in the last minute or last second, everyone was scrambling, then that's actually a failure, I feel like, from Team Penske. But then like you could, like Emp said, Ford, you have a Ford, it's about to run out of gas. I know it's an RFK Ford. There should be some communication with the Penske Ford about what's about to happen here. It did ultimately screw over a blue oval that Brad didn't pit sooner or didn't just stay on the track and let it ride, which that was, I chalk up Blaney losing this race ultimately to just awful luck, because if Keselowski runs out of gas 10 seconds later, the restarts happened and he stacks up that whole inside lane and Blaney wins. If he runs out of gas a lap earlier, then Blaney's the leader and can choose the preferred line. So it really just sucks that for Blaney, he ran out exactly when he did. Like the timing could not have been worse, to quote Richard Childress Racing.
Well, and I believe when Denny Hamlin, might have been the door bumper clear guys, pulled out the SMT data, it showed that Larson is actually on the gas first. Like, I know it was a kind of a bang bang kind of deal, but I think a lot of people are looking at this, and this is going to compound with a few other things we'll talk about, is like, yeah, Larson got a lot of luck, but he also, I think he did a lot of withdrawals in the luck bank when it came to not getting called for different things in this race. I know that's one of the iffy ones. But that whole deal, I think we all knew going in, it's like, if this is going to have a late race restart, it's going to be insanely hard to pass. And you're going to have, people that are running out left and right. Like, we kind of all knew that this is going to be, I don't know if awful's the right word, cluster, you name it. They all cluster it up into turn one. We get the red flag. And then, of course, we get moved from NBC to USA because of the news. Call me chronically online, call me dumb YouTuber, whatever you will. I'm kind of the belief that old media needs to evolve, like news. I think that nowadays we run more on internet time, and something that happened 4 to 6 hours ago was more like 4 to 6 days ago in internet time. Like, if you didn't hear the news before the race, which we got cut in before the race, by the end of it, you should have probably known what was going on. So that's more just a nitpick on my end. I think that, if something's live, especially compared to news that everybody already knows, I don't think it's as pertinent. I guess it's a big deal, so I understand at least why they do that, but I hope in the newer deals they fix that. I'll tell you what, for those who are against streaming, you won't have to deal with that.
But the news was like 4 hours old at that point. It's worth reiterating. It's not like it just happened within the hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It happened around like 1 o'clock or noon Eastern time.
At the start of the race, at least on my end, there was a breaking news thing before NASCAR even beyond saying it happened. And
what I think what pissed me off more about that, and a lot of people just saw like my ramblings on YouTube and on Twitter, is like, dude, just change the channel. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. But my problem is that when you look at what the majority of the country got, they got an animal documentary. They didn't even get the news. And the ones who did get the news got local news that didn't even cover what happened. Like NBC Nightly.
That's what I found. That's what I found weird. And I was going to ask the chat, like I flipped over to USA immediately because I do have cable. So I was like, okay, I'm going to obviously go watch the race. But for people who didn't have cable, I was like, I then switched back to NBC 5 minutes later, be like, well, what are they showing on NBC? I should know so I can talk about it on my show. They were showing a nature documentary.
Yep.
And I want to ask the chat, anyone who stayed on NBC for a few minutes at least, did they show you guys the news or something completely miscellaneous? Because at the end of the day, NBC is going to do what's best for NBC's business. They felt like switching off NASCAR was best for their business. It sucks for NASCAR and its fans, and is, something that we honestly, for all their faults, Fox hasn't really done that I can think of ever. So it's frustrating, but it's just, they foot the bill. They make the big decisions is ultimately what it comes down to. Most people said nature. Yeah, nature is more important than NASCAR. Yeah, okay. I guess so.
I'm gonna pull back the third wall here a bit for me real quick and just say this real quick. So my full-time job, I don't want to say too much about it, but my full-time job is running a YouTube channel. That could be newsy, political in nature, so to speak. I asked my colleagues when all this went down if we should even go live, do a breaking news thing. The thing is, it was told to me there wasn't enough information out there to justify going on and doing a live thing on YouTube at this. So if we didn't have enough justification for it, I don't know what the justification was for this.
It's the mainstream media. We got to milk everything for a 3-day headline spree that could all be said in 5 minutes that happened 6 freaking hours ago.
I'm seeing paid programming, nature documentaries, or local news. Those are the only 3 things I've seen in the chat.
Yeah, it annoys me. Yeah, we can move on as NBC did. Yes. To the finish here, and I'll lay this out, and I do want to hear Emp your thoughts on the finish here. I'm
by no means finished yet.
Yeah,
with what I have
bullets
to say.
In the chamber.
Then I will lay out the targets and just let you fire away at this. So we go and have another restart. Kyle Larson fires off, has the lead, especially out of 2. You kind of know he pretty much has got it, but still you got Tyler Reddick, who based on people I knew at Indianapolis were saying like he was actually really closing in and was like noticeably faster. But while they were all exiting 2 with 2 to go, Ryan Preece spins down the track, gets 1, maybe 2, I don't remember the exact number of flat tires, and they just show a side-by-side camera of Larson and the leaders rolling through 3 and 4, and then Preece in the 41 beached whale on the backstretch, barely rocking back and forth. Larson crosses the line. Within about 10 seconds, the yellow waves, race is over, internet explodes. Emp, start firing away.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at this whole situation, and just the constant deterioration, I have to say that I've almost never walked away from a NASCAR race like this as bent out of shape as I was. And I got to say ahead of time here, I'm usually someone who is pretty progressive about NASCAR's decision making. I'm not really a big old school purist in that sense. I like a lot of the new stuff they've done, the street course racing. I even like the EV prototype, okay? So let me just first say that I'm not one of these like cantankerous modern NASCAR sucks people. But when it came to this whole series of events, I just had this epiphany as I was sitting there stewing on my couch, where I really think NASCAR needs to take a look, and they're almost certainly not going to do this, but just based on what we've seen, they need to take a look at walking back the green-white checker system. And this is something that has been a part of the sport for 15 or so years now, 20 years almost, probably since '04 they had it, so that would be 20 years. And this was the race. This was the sequence of events. The freaking Kyle Busch, the getting kicked off NBC because the restart, the red flag, everything taking so long, the stupid controversy with the lineup and Keselowski pitting, and Larson getting into P1, and then the race just ending under caution anyway. This whole sequence of events made me, it opened my eyes to this point where I'm starting to think that the overtime green white checker policy, whatever you want to call it, I'm starting to think it is a net negative for NASCAR. It is a net negative for the racing and a net negative for the audience because what exactly happened? What exactly did the green white checker accomplish for us here? So let's imagine, let's not even consider racing back to the line. Let's consider what they had briefly in 2004 before green white checker got put in, where just the field is frozen at the moment of caution and they just run out the rest of the laps and the race finishes in completion. Well, you can't stop Kyle Busch's wreck for some reason because he ran out of talent too much. So you're just going to have maybe at that point Keselowski just coasts to the win. And I imagine that's still going to be a pretty good moment. And maybe he doesn't have enough gas. And you still get a pretty good moment there, historic moment, where he like runs out of gas and can't maintain minimum speed on like the white flag lap. And then Blaney gets the win. So that's what would have happened on the old system. What do we get under the new system? Let's see. Rack them all back up. Keselowski runs out of gas. So now there's a stupid officiating controversy, of course. 5 guys just completely take each other out in turn 1, piling each other, go into the wall, red flag, the race gets kicked off of network TV, and then you don't even, after all of that, and I think it was like, I was trying to keep track of it, it was probably like 5:40 Eastern time when the first restart happened and the red flag got put out. I don't think the race actually finished until about 6:15 or 6:20, so 40 minutes.
Yep.
It took 40 minutes, and not even including the caution laps before the first restart. If you include those, it's maybe an hour. You're seeing a scenario where it's taking an hour to complete 2 laps, and after all of that, the race just ends up under caution anyway. It finishes under caution anyway. And that's the whole purpose of the green white checker rule, the overtime rule, is designed to prevent races ending under caution. Because it goes all the way back to like the 2002 Pepsi 400. That's when this all started, where there was a spin out. Some guy spun out with like 4 laps left, and people wanted Junior to win, but Michael Waltrip was in the lead. They cautioned it, and they wouldn't red flag it to clean up the track. And then people just started dumping their seat cushions in the old Daytona backstretch bleachers onto the track. They littered the track with that, and that was the beginning of this. And then you had racing back to the line taken away because it became an obvious safety hazard, and the gentleman's agreement to kind of lay off got removed. And then in 2004, you had, again, people completely pissed off that the field was frozen when they thought it again took a win away from Junior, and then fans pelted the track again. So NASCAR was like, okay, it's clear that people want to see green flag finishes. They don't like the idea of the field being frozen. They don't like the idea of races ending under caution. So here, take the green white checker. And I really had to like search my memory for, and I'd be interested if there was a comprehensive analysis done on this by like someone like NASCAR Man or Brock Beard or somebody, where you actually look at the times that there was a green white checker and whether it negatively or positively impacted the outcome just from a spectator sport. Because I can tell you there's some people that like the chaos and the crashes. I don't like sitting there watching cars do pace laps for 40 minutes to an hour just so we can complete 2 laps. And oftentimes have the race end under caution anyway. And I know there's been multiple iterations. There's the 1 attempt, and then the 3 attempts, and then the overtime line. All this crap. And it's still, I feel like it's still not really better than just letting the race run out in regulation. And maybe the audience has changed by now. Maybe now that we've had our cake, we can see that it is maybe not the best option. Maybe if they were to bring it back, fans would not pelt the track with debris anymore. But I gotta say, man, this thing, I'm really leaning towards the green white checker policy being a net negative for the sport, because you think about the last several years, you had the fiasco with whatever the hell happened with Blaney at the All-Star race a couple years ago, whatever that was. And then you have the last two Daytona 500s, they just ended under caution anyway. So the green white checker is completely irrelevant there. All these plate races in late Gen 6, I can remember where they keep restarting and restarting, and half the field takes each other out, and it takes an hour or more to finish the damn race. And I'm just wondering if like people really consider this to be a preferable solution to just letting the race run out. Maybe like 4 or 3 laps to go, it's like that's it. You know, if there's a crash now, it's over. Maybe it's 4 or 5 laps left. You can red flag it, clean up the track, and try to do like a 1 lap shootout like they used to do. But until then, I just keep thinking because even to go back to an example at the same track, like two of the last 5 Indy 500s, I believe, have ended under caution, and it's fine. It like doesn't detract from the experience. If there's going to be a crash with 2 or 3 laps left, there's going to be a crash. I mean, you can't stop that part of racing. People racing hard for the win at the end. And I keep thinking to myself, oh man, we're not going to see it finish under green. But it dawned on me that never did I consider.
Well, I'll ask really quick. I want everyone's opinion on this. I put the poll in the chat for this, and I know that people have different reasons for each. Should NASCAR have thrown the caution for Paris's car, or just let it run out like it did? I think that's really the big crux of this race for sure. So I'll start. I want Eric, Danny, and Emp, and then I'll go after.
Well, to kind of tackle. I mean, so on one hand, Emp, I feel vindicated by your passionate rant there, because after Nashville, and I was there, I watched all 5 overtimes, and I felt the way you felt. I felt like it was a waste of my time, quite honestly. I felt like the race had been decided 45 minutes earlier. Watching pace laps in the hot summer night was not enjoyable. And I was very negative in my post race, and I was dragged by many for coming across so negative. So I'm happy to know that there was someone else around my age, similar background in racing, who felt the same way. That does make me feel good. That being said, I do feel, Jerry, you guys both kind of touched on this. I feel the audience has changed to the point where we now demand, some of NASCAR's greatest highlights now happen late race restarts, with how difficult it is to pass, the next gen car being the way it is. I feel like you need restarts to have action, and fans want to see their 3-hour afternoon bookended with a rock'em sock'em 2-lap shootout. And like Emp, you brought up some of those Indy 500s. I remember watching those races, and social media, at least, which may not be the real world, but it is a very vocal part of the world, they hated it. They were like, wow, their controversy a year or two ago when they did a 1-lap shootout, right, to finish it. It's like, why, like, this race probably should have just ended under caution, but we're going to do a 1-lap shootout. Okay. I feel like whether they end at the scheduled distance, or if they continue to re-rack for restart after restart, and then maybe hold the caution, don't hold the caution, like, it's always going to be a judgment call that folks are going to cry foul if NASCAR doesn't call it the way they want to see it. Like, if a caution comes out with 5 to go and the race ends, it's like, well, why weren't the cleanup trucks out there faster? They just wanted Denny Hamlin to win. It's going to be, no matter what, they're going to face criticism, I feel, for that. So my take after Nashville was, I hated that we had 5 overtimes, but I wouldn't change the rule. I would just trust that these drivers are better than that. But as we go on now, I'm starting to learn that maybe they're not. Maybe it's this car. Maybe it's the culture now. They're going to hit each other harder and harder, race after race, and it's going to lead to more and more just sloppy finishes. But I agree with you. I did not enjoy the end of Nashville nor the end of Indianapolis. I felt the race was over at regulation both times. I don't like seeing, the storylines that we spent an hour building towards suddenly wash away. All of a sudden, it's like that, like we were talking about, that Keselowski, Blaney, Larson battle where for the fuel mileage wasn't really a talking point after the second overtime restart.
Well, it's kind of like a Shyamalan movie at this point to me.
Yes, it's a sudden plot twist at the 11th hour. Like, it's like I said this after Nashville. It's like if the the post-credit scene of a Marvel movie completely upended the climax of the movie. Like, nobody would sign off on that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, sometimes you get the sixth sense, like you did with Kansas, where it's like, holy crap, that was an awesome finish. I didn't see that coming in any way. And then sometimes you get After Earth or The Last Airbender, where you're just like, oh my God, why the hell did I even waste my time with this? And I think that's what I feel like, because it all leads back to NASCAR. Like NASCAR, for better or worse, promotes a lot of this kind of like anything could happen at any time, parody, and anyone could get knocked out at any point. For me, I'm just most pissed at the fact that they didn't call the race. Basically, I don't know if equally is the right word, but they didn't call it really according to the rule. They called it according to the situation. And I don't like when, something that'd be a caution for the 160 laps plus before it is not called a caution. And, I saw some on other podcasts, even Dale Jr. Download, people putting on their tinfoil hats in different ways about this. I'll say this. If it's just about any other driver, I think they throw the yellow and rack them back up. I think NASCAR saw a good storyline and let Larson cross the line. I think they did.
They held the yellow for Hamlin at Pocono a year ago, even though they knew he was going to get booed when he got out of the car.
It's a really good story. It's a really he nailed Larson, that you got the huge crowd reaction that you got out of it. You got your promo material for years that they're going to use from it, and they took the win anyway away from him. So you even got more promotion out of it.
This was last.
That was the
year.
tape. Okay, so that was a tape race before. No, but I totally think that they call it differently.
I don't think NASCAR is smart enough to
come on.
Not in the case of Hamlin.
These people negotiate billion-dollar deals, and they can't think of, this is going to get a really big fan reaction. Come on.
There's a few obvious moments. I'm saying I don't think they were sitting there at Pocono in 2023 thinking, we really want a Denny Hamlin win. That's let's hold the yellow because we want Denny. There's no way there. Nobody was consciously thinking that in the booth at that moment.
Well, you know what, Jared? Yeah. I just want to add on to the point you just made, and this is almost like a spiritual thing to me. I swear, it's the big epiphany where I never even considered before this weekend that maybe the green white checker rule is bad for the sport and needs to go. But precisely on what you're saying, another big reason why I think I've changed my mind on this is that it just opens up this huge point of leverage for NASCAR to have the opportunity to undergo race manipulation. I mean, say what you want about the old system, finishing under caution, lackluster, whatever. Whoever is leading at mile 400 or mile 500, that's the winner. And that is an objective thing that is difficult to have any ambiguity in that situation. And there's always been complaints of NASCAR officiating going all the way back to the days of Junior Johnson. But there's a push and pull and this applies to every sport. There's a push and pull over how much the sanctioning body should be allowed to basically stick their hand in the cookie jar to try to extract more entertainment, and how much, to quote Slap's video, how much it affects the dam of legitimacy. And this is someone who's one of the biggest Jimmy Johnson fans there is. And I'll admit that his 7th title is highly questionable based on the circumstances that were leading up to it and how it basically played the use of the green-white checker rule to create a more exciting and flashy product, but one that ultimately is questionable under scrutiny and adds a lot of dubious details and ambiguity over to the fact of whether or not he deserves it. And now that's something that Jimmy will just have to have as part of his legacy for the rest of time. And the more situations we have like this, the more it becomes it just, after a while, it leaves you with a bit of a dirty feeling. It feels undignified. You can say what you want about, just let them finish under caution at the scheduled distance. It's boring. It's lackluster. They should have cleaned up the track and done a one-lap shootout. You can say everything you want about that, but you cannot argue that it's not at least dignified. And that's just what I kept thinking about this race. Now we have an officiating controversy, people running out of gas, people stopped on the track. NASCAR has their hand on the button. Do we through the caution? And to your point, I don't think it was about the Kyle Larson story. I think it was a point that these fans and the people watching at home just got kicked off the network, and the fans in the grandstands just sat in the sun for the last hour to try to see 2 laps run, and now we're going to try to have it end under caution anyway. So they were holding off to see a please get down the road so we can end this after green after waiting an hour to finish the last 2 laps. And yeah, eventually he couldn't go. And yeah, I agree. They should have thrown the caution. You can't just have guys driving by at full speed with the car stopped on the apron. But the fact that these situations are even put into place, it is an escalation of just taking away this objective mark of performance where the leader, the guy who takes the checker flag at lap 200 is the winner. And now a race can just be however long it needs to be. You can have unlimited attempts now. It's a slippery slope, and I feel like it is just not correct in terms of what the objectivities that we expect from a sport.
Something that's come to my mind on hearing you talk about all this, Emp, is that I think more about the historic moments of NASCAR that we probably wouldn't have today had we had green, white, checkered finishes and stuff. I mean, arguably, there's a chance that Dale Earnhardt Sr. is never a Daytona 500 winner if they do a green, white, checkered finish in the 1998 Daytona 500, because we don't know for sure what would have happened on that. Something else could have ended up happening. He could have had something, could have been caught up in a wreck on a restart. I think about moments like that, but then I also think, there's moments that we've gotten out of the green, white, checkered era as well. And it's just kind of a big, like, what if situation here.
My last point that I've just been sitting on is and this is now my epiphany midway through the show here, is I actually think overtime is NASCAR stepping away. Like, because I still go back to, you can end at the scheduled distance, but what happens if the caution comes out with 4 to go? Get the safety trucks that we need one more lap. No, race just ends with 5 to go. Like that happened in IndyCar, Pepsi 400, 2002, whatever year that was. That's part of the problem there. Like NASCAR basically has said, hey, we're not gonna make the call. If there's a caution late in the race, we're gonna take our time to clean it up, and then we're gonna let the drivers settle it for 2 laps. And yes, occasionally a weird call like this where it's like, oh, there's a car stopped on track. If they threw the yellow right away, Larson's with plenty of fuel is restarting inside front row. He's going to win anyway. It's like, I don't think Larson, barring a shocking mistake on a restart, was going to lose that race. So it's kind of like, I actually would argue maybe overtime, while it's not as dignified, I'll agree with you there. That actually is NASCAR saying, hey, we don't want to be in the business of determining when the race ends. We're just saying, hey, no matter what happens, 2 to go, drivers settle it for 2 laps. It's not dignified, but I actually do think that's NASCAR getting out of the way of it, more or less.
I just think the whole point of overtime that they did with this is to have green flag finishes. Now, there's obviously the knowledge that we're not always going to get one. I see, you're on like one completely different end of the plane than the other than I am, and then we've sort of reached around the circle to the same place. I think with this, at least, I'd say half the time, maybe more than half the time, at least from the last time I checked, we don't even head under green. And if that's the main point of the rule that you sell it under, similar to like a lot of people brought up when Crafton won the championship a couple of years back in trucks, that the main point they sold the playoffs on was that winning means more. Like, I think that NASCAR fans have the right to, I think they have the right to criticize. I just don't like that. Whether it be Larson storyline, whether it be let's just end this damn thing and go home and get our 2-week break started or whatever. Let's just end this race that's already going, completely out of it the same way that it did in 2017. That ended in a actually incredibly similar way of NASCAR holding the yellow flag until after the arbitrary line was crossed. That's what I call it. It's not, at that point, it wasn't the overtime line. It was the arbitrary line to me. It does leave that bad taste in your mouth. And what I hate about this the most necessarily isn't precedent and isn't any of that, is that we are now stuck without NASCAR essentially for 3 weeks with this really bad taste in our mouth, and we have Richmond next. And I'm not looking forward to that either. I mean, I like we have the option tires and stuff. It's just,
hey, last time we were at Richmond, another green, white checker, another controversy. Just saying, it seems to happen a lot more than what many people seem to give it credit for. Yeah. Dubious circumstances related to whenever a green, white checker goes into place.
It's just rough, and I
just don't think there's a clear right answer. I think if you decide, hey, it's over the scheduled distance, no matter what, you're gonna have some really anticlimactic finishes. You'll have teams crying foul over, race, over caution flag protocol. And then if you just say unlimited overtimes, then you're gonna have drivers being dumbasses like you saw at Nashville, wrecking each other. You'll have guys running out of fuel like you saw at Nashville and here at Indianapolis. And it's just, I don't think there is a perfect solution. I think because the cars are so equal and they're practically indestructible, guys are going to be extremely impolite to one another, lean on each other, go over the top aggressive. And it's just not, I think the way you put it, Emp, is good. It's not dignified, which some would say NASCAR's never been dignified. Right. That's what makes it charming, but you still need, and you referenced Slap's video, you still need that legitimacy to be taken seriously on the world stage. And that's where I think NASCAR does fall short sometimes, but I'm just not sure that overtimes, no overtimes, I still think the same questions are going to pop up. That's just my theory, at least.
Yeah, it's hard to say. But yeah, I go back to as I watch the Indy 500 every year, and a lot of times it ends under caution. And obviously, you'd like to see it go under green. Everyone wants to see a green flag finish. It's exciting. It's objective. That's why people watch racing. But never in the Indy 500, I don't think, am I thinking, oh, they should just add an extra 10 laps to this and then have a shootout. I just realized this, just all this past weekend after this race, where it's like, I think and this might be an unpopular opinion among the greater racing fan base, but I think I just prefer, whatever, bummer, it ended under caution, but I prefer it to rack them back up, crash 3 more times, and then take an hour to complete 2 laps just to have it end under caution anyway. I feel like the amount of good finishes and good moments that green-white checker creates, it does not outweigh the amount of times a driver who deserves to win gets screwed, some stupid avoidable controversy gets injected into the race to distract everyone from the winner and the great racing. And I don't know, I just think I'm at a point where I'd prefer, it just ends under caution. Oh, that's someone wipes out 2 laps to go, too bad, it's over. And fans get to go home and they don't have to sit at the track for an extra 2 hours and have their plans messed up.
Yeah.
Well,
that's fair.
I think we have gotten a lot through this. I think one last thing to look at with the finish before we can go into what the rest of the race had to offer, because there was more of a race to talk about, is regardless of what way we got there, Kyle Larson did end up winning this race in his Justin Allgaier paint scheme. I got to call it that. I don't know necessarily the right way to go on this, because a lot of people are talking about like legacy and stuff, and I'm like, okay, like we talk about that with every crown jewel and all that. That's fun and all, but when it comes to this race, every team, and they talked about it in the broadcast, drivers especially talked about it a ton. Everyone brought their best, and it was, for better or worse, at the end of that race, some of the most experienced and some of the best drivers and teams out there, and some of the most ascending teams. Brad Keselowski in the 6 RFK car, the defending champion Ryan Blaney, who's on the Ascension, Kyle Larson, who everyone says is the best driver since dirt was invented. You got Tyler Reddick up there, who is arguably the most consistent driver in NASCAR right now. Denny Hamlin was up there before Kyle Busch lost talent underneath him and he got crashed in a restart. Like
Kyle Busch was up there before he lost 2024 Kyle Busch.
Before he remembered his place this year is the wall. So I guess I want to start with you, Danny, because I feel like we keep shifting this around. I don't get your full explanation, thoughts on it all. As the sirens roll by again, what do you think in the last 14 races here? Jesus, they're getting louder. What do you think in the last 14 races here that we can kind of gain from this? Because this race used to be the bar to the end of the year. Guys like Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Mark Martin, you name them through that time would be really good here. What do you kind of take from this finish and race of Larson winning and the guys he had to beat?
I mean, I think I don't really take anything on the season for this per se. It just caps off, to me, it just caps off more onto Kyle Larson's future legacy. I mean, that's, another crown jewel race added to him. He's won the Coke 600. Now he's won the Brickyard 400. I'm blanking as he won the Southern 500. Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
I think
Yeah,
he has it.
he's won that. He's won that. Just needs the Daytona 500, and he's got the championship already. He's good to go. He just needs to get that Daytona 500 victory now.
Yeah, if you look at the bigger picture of this, well, I guess it's the smaller picture. Legacy would be the bigger picture, but the smaller picture of this specific season, I mean, you kind of summarized it, Jarrett. The best teams all came to play and were in the picture there towards the end. I think this just proves that it's going to be a little ugly at times. There might be a mistake. He got into Truex at one point. I don't know if that was fully Larson's fault, but there was an incident there. Some brakes had to fall his way. It's not always going to be the cleanest and the prettiest, but Kyle Larson is often the fastest. So kind of like last year, as long as he avoids the mistakes, he's going to make it to the championship four. And even if he has some mistakes like he did last year, I still think about Homestead when he hit the tire barriers running, or the water barrels running second. He still made it to the championship for that year. Like, it's all or nothing with him. The checkers or wreckers narrative is kind of back, and when he finishes these races, he wins or is in the picture to win. So, yeah, just kind of more of the same for Larson, Cliff Daniels. It's just what you expect. If they don't crash, they're going to be in the mix for the win.
What do you think, Emp? I want to actually open this up to a different question a little bit to you, Emp, because we don't know what time next time we'll have you on, if it's this year, next year, whatever. And I think we should probably do this with more guests. I kind of want to know, taking from this and the start of the year, getting into the home stretch of the season, like, who is your final four favorites right now, especially after what we saw in this race?
Dude, it's hard to say. There are a lot of contenders this year. I mean, it feels like someone like Ross Chastain has been consistent, and he's on the bubble right now. So there's a lot of fluke winners, and there's people like Byron who looked unstoppable in the first 8 races and then completely disappeared down the stretch.
That's just what he does. He takes the summer off.
If I had to guess the championship for looking at the people, I think Hamlin gets there this year. Whether he can seal the deal is gonna be its own story. Maybe he can finally crack out those cigars for once. Bad chance though. I think Blaney gets back to defend his championship. And there's gotta be a guy from Hendrick, but I think only one gets in, and I think Larson gets in out of the Hendrick guys. And then there's always one Gibbs. And God, I already said Hamlin. Sorry.
You go with him. You go with I feel like Tyler Reddick's making a strong case right now.
Reddick has been really good. He's been really consistent. I might have to give it to Reddick. Yeah. That'll be my final four: Hamlin, Larson, Blaney, Reddick.
Can't ignore Bell either. I mean, that final stretch really suits up well for him every time.
Well, that's a good point.
I wanted to bring up this for Reddick because he's finished second so many times, all these other things. So yeah, he only has the one win this year. Gonna need to up that probably, at least another one in crunch time at some point. But top fives, tied with Kyle Larson for the most. Top tens, 3 above the next guys, which is Alex Bowman and Christopher Bell. Laps led, pretty solid, around 450-ish. I mean, just in every category possible, the 45 team and Tyler Reddick is like, they're clicking. Like, this should be a Final Four team. What worries me about this team and him is that Reddick seems to give away wins a lot right now. Whether it just be through the driver not pushing it the right way or pushing it too hard, whether it be the crew giving it away, because it's a 2311 pit crew. I'm sorry, I do not trust 2311 pit crews. You're gonna have to prove it to me. Like, I feel like they have everything set up to win. It's just about getting, I think, the experience now in this. But if he had the experience of Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, or Denny Hamlin, even, I would say Reddick is the favorite, but I can't say it yet.
Yeah, I think he'll be in the mix. Round of 8. He was round of 8 last year, wasn't he? I think he made it last year, didn't he?
That's the thing, I forgot.
I believe he did. I know Busch sure did. There were a couple kind of surprises in there. I think he was one of them. So he's got at least some late playoff experience. I think this year they're just a little quicker. So I like Red. I'm really feeling Reddick these last few weeks, but it's a long way to go.
Now, finishing out a bit more stuff here with the Brickyard, there was another controversy, which was the line violation controversy.
Oh, yeah.
With the 9 and the 6. And I wonder if I still have it in here. I do. I have the rule, and I can actually read it with it on screen verbatim. It might look a little weird with me and Eric's heads popping over it, but we can manage. There he is. There's Eric looking over. So exiting pit road. Returning to the track while exiting the pits, vehicles must use the acceleration lane through the exit of turn 2. Check your mirrors and come on to the racetrack or up to the racetrack. You may swing wide between the white line on the acceleration lane between turns 1 and 2. Stay off the racing surface. Vehicles must fall in line behind the continuous line of vehicles that remain on the racetrack. Do not impede vehicles that remained on the racetrack. So that is the rule.
Oh
Yes.
God, rules. Oh, geez. Yeah, I was doing my best Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski impression because they clearly didn't pay very close attention. In their defense, that email isn't worded exactly the same as the way the rule on like the crew chief sheet is written. So NASCAR, get your shit together. Why is the same rule written differently in two different places? That being said, they were the only two that made a mistake. That tells me that, everyone else seemed to understand. It's a little vague, but Elliott clearly had all 4 tires up on the racing surface. Everyone was saying, what about Larson? He had like 2 maybe. Like it was a borderline call on Larson. They could have maybe called it, but Elliott was obvious. Elliott was more blatant for sure, and so was Keselowski. So
who else was? Ty Dillon did the same thing as Brad Keselowski, and he didn't get called.
Oh, I didn't see that. They probably weren't.
Well,
who's covering Ty Dillon?
No one's worried about Ty Dillon.
Was anyone watching Ty Dillon?
He's doing it again. He's cheating. He's going for 35.
The madman.
He needs the help. Okay, he needs it.
This is just another one of those things where it's like, it's the theme of the day: needless controversy. And this is, I think as much as the finish is going to get the most of our talk and the most press, this is the most needless one to me. I mean, this is just one that is so avoidable if you just write the rule the same for everyone. And then in the drivers' meeting, if you saw the video, they showed the video of the iRacing or Heat or whatever game they used for it, where it's like, when you go out of pit road, be on the access road. And then it cuts to from turn 1 straight to getting into turn 2.
Yeah. And
it's like, it was pretty clear that based on the rule, they called it correctly. I just wish NASCAR was more clear. And I also wish that, like, they would have used Logano's clip that NASCAR Man found and tweeted out. I want to credit NASCAR Man because nobody seems to be crediting him for actually putting it out there. Logano did the same damn thing in 2020 and didn't get called. I think they should have used that as the example. Like, see what Joey did here? Don't do that. And I think everybody would get that alone. You wouldn't even have to write a rule. Just like, hey, see what Joey did here where he went over that white line? Don't do that. Boom.
It should have been so much more clearly explained than it was. But still, if you're the driver, you got to know the rules.
Mm-hmm. And couple other things kind of to clean up here. A vicious wreck for William Byron. Just
big one. Really
bad one. Multiple hits, too, as you pointed out, Eric. And then Hocevar strikes again. This time taking out the aforementioned Logano, and also Jimmy Johnson was taken out.
I don't fully blame Hocevar for this necessarily, but he was being aggressive. I don't know. And how did you feel? What did you see in that crash?
Well, I didn't get to see it live. I was like trying to get some work done during that, and then I was like, "Oh wow, Jimmy's actually having a good run today." I leave the TV for 10 minutes, come back, and out of the race in 33rd. I'm like, "Oh well, looks like things are back to normal." 84 is a satanic number. There's a reason why. There's a reason this number has never won. I don't think it's ever won in NASCAR. It should never win.
I think it's rarely run.
His biggest mistake was coming back as 84. It reversed his fucking fortunes. God damn it.
Sorry, I just
last
dropped my phone.
Last time before him, was it a Red Bull car? Who else has driven?
Allmendinger, I guess.
Last I remember was a Red Bull car.
And then Kyle Busch when he was like just starting off at Hendrick.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Oh, maybe that car won like an Xfinity race or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think I put a tweet out there that like Jimmy wrecking today of all days is like it had the same likelihood of Castellanos hitting a home run today. Like, we knew it was going to happen. It was just going to happen, unfortunately. To his credit, though, he was running very respectable out there.
He was fairly competitive, and through strategy, I think he was 11th on that restart.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so like it wasn't like, you know, he was at Kansas when he got wrecked by Corey LaJoie and he was like already running 30th. Like, he was actually making his way up. He, you know, it was not like he was going to win by any means, but it was going to be respectable. And I think that's kind of what sucks about this in particular.
What was ironic is that he had the second most recent experience at the Indy Oval out of anyone in the field.
Don't you just love when IndyCar drivers try out NASCAR?
Yeah,
open
wheel invasion part 2.
I found some unique stats on car number 84. Over the course of NASCAR history, I don't know exactly how many races there's been in the history of NASCAR, but now number 84 has only ran in 232 races.
Damn.
Wow.
That would mean an average, if we say there's usually 36 races a year.
I'm pretty sure Ryan Blaney has more starts than the 84 car has.
That's
ever.
only like 6.4 seasons that car number 84 has ran.
Yep.
In its
history,
it has never won. It's had 11 top 5 finishes, 35 top 10 finishes, and it's finished in the top 20 96 times. It's been run 64 times by Toyota, 53 times by Ford, 52 times by Chevrolet, and 37 by Buick, 18 by Dodge, 17 by Mercury, 7 by Plymouth, 3 as Packard Motor Car Company, 2 Oldsmobiles, 2 Pontiacs, 1 Chrysler, and 1 Studebaker has run car number 84.
Danny just out of nowhere here just found complete 84 lore.
Wow.
It is a very unused number, it sounds like.
It sounds like it. Now, kind of
for good reason.
Let's just do the complete cleanup here for the big race, though. Brickyard 400. Where does it go from here? Because I'd say the crowd for Brickyard standards, from what I heard, the estimate that seems to be landed on is actually closer to 75,000 in attendance, which that's like 2.25 Iowa speedways. That's like almost 4 North Wilkesboros, all, you know, combined. Like 75,000 at just about any other track outside like Daytona, and we're all celebrating.
Yeah.
Like
it just still looks awful because there's so many seats.
When you know how many this place holds, and the crazy thing is the stands are not tall like they are at Daytona. They're very short and shallow. They're just so many, so far stretched out. NASCAR's never filling up this place. We all know that, you know.
Not pretty good. I mean, in those like 2005 that year,
they're not filling it up anymore. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, what did it bottom out at back in like 2017, 2018?
35,000.
Okay, well, so that's clearly an improvement from that point. It seems like the fans kind of missed the oval as well. Like the road course was cool for a couple years, but it wasn't meant to last. The oval, even with or subpar racing, and I thought the racing was quite, for Indy standards, I thought it was quite decent to good. But it seems like the fans missed NASCAR at the Oval, and it's hopefully the sour ending does not take away from what seems like it should have been a pretty successful event for NASCAR's return.
Let's do Charlotte next.
Maybe.
I'll say this. I like David brought this up in some of his videos this week, and I've credited him because I think it's a good idea. I do think there needs to be build up with this. There needs to be more reason to get those local Indianapolis fans in, you know, an extra practice or 2, different activations, maybe different series through the week or something. Like, do something to bring people in, and then also have more time on TV to kind of build storylines, other things like that. Like, I want to see this do well.
You could try dragging out Caitlin Clark for my freaking prediction didn't get right.
But I mean, you know, you could probably set up 2 basketball hoops with the line of bricks being half court and do something like that. I mean, Bristol did that with LeBron James at one point. So, we have a dog.
Oh, hello, puppy.
Are you going to the gym? Are you?
Yeah.
I've been tasked with guarding our new puppy.
Oh, hello. This is news to me.
Yeah. There he is. How's it going? His name is Cosmo, like the space
Cosmo.
dog.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on.
I'm your Uncle Danny. This is Uncle Jarrett.
I'm just
He's
Jarrett.
super confused. You just want to set him on the floor right there? He'll probably just bark at me. Yeah, our poor podcast audience has no idea what's going on. Yeah, there he is. That's a good photo.
Look how we went
There we
from
go.
Brickyard to there's a dog on stream.
Sorry, the jump scared here.
Hi, Amelia, by the way.
Hi.
Gonna go work out.
The guy say hi. All right, go have fun. See you later. Oh, I've got a dog now. Sorry, someone was making a really good point. Oh shit.
I'll be completely
He's running. He's bolting.
I'll be completely honest. I don't know if it was me or Danny, but I know we're completely off track now.
I agree with someone in chat though. We have Cosmo. We need Wanda now.
Yeah.
But overall, like I was actually pretty happy with the way that the weekend for the most part went. It seemed like there was actually good hype for it. We'll talk about the ratings in a little bit. We're pretty solid for it. Attendance was good. Like it seemed like other than the actual cup race on track, it was pretty positive. I guess we can move on. Real quick, I want to shout these people out before we run into the playoff cut line. Some good finishes for Bubba Wallace with the top 5, ran good all day. I think he was tied for most stage points on the day. A very solid run for him. Todd Gilliland, 6th on the day, season high. I believe season high. Daniel Suarez with an 8th place run. Noah Gragson up front at the top 10. So just all around good runs for a lot of guys who aren't normally up there. And that's going to lead us on into the playoffs. We got the playoff cut line up right now. Ty Gibbs up by 42. Chris Buescher up by 17. Ross Chastain +7 over Bubba Wallace. The playoff battle that 2 races ago we thought was completely done unless we got a new winner is looking mighty interesting right now, if I have to say.
Ever since Alex Bowman won, this got so interesting so fast.
It really has. I mean,
It's just a dogfight now.
yeah. Okay, so Ty Gibbs, if the team and the engine program can get out of its way, I think is good to go. I really do. I think that this team is too good. I mean, you look at laps wise, they've led way more laps than the rest of these teams. More top 10s, more top 5s, more poles. Like the speed is there. I at least think so with Ty Gibbs. I'm not too worried about him unless the team melts down.
No, I think Ty Gibbs is good unless they keep blowing engines. Yeah, I think Bubba Wallace is trending the right direction. Like I feel like Chastain has been consistently okay, whereas Bubba, and we've seen with his teammate Reddick, they're top 5, top 10 every week. Like I like where the 23 is going.
Yeah, I think Ross is in trouble, to be honest. And he's not going to like completely fall off a cliff like Kyle Busch, but I think that there's not been the sense of urgency from that team. They looked like about maybe 6 or 7 weeks ago, they looked like, oh yeah, there's going to be no problem, but now they're right there on the cut line. There's been multiple unexpected winners, and they just haven't really been top 5 contenders in almost any race. And when they are, there've been big problems like Texas and Nashville. What should have been like second, third place finish in both of those races completely falls apart because circumstances at the end, winds up wrecked. So I don't think it's this team's year. I think that it's going to be very close for sure, but I just think you get one more winner, which Daytona coming up. It's not looking good for that team. I'm already preparing for them to just be out of the show.
So I take it out of those 4, that's your pick for who's out. I want to know, Danny, who would your pick be of these 4? Like who's out in 4 races time?
I don't feel safe about Bubba. Really, I don't even feel safe about Ross. We could see an upset winner at Daytona. I don't feel safe about either one of them.
Napa Racing Fan puts in the chat too. I mean, Barry at Richmond, that could be a possibility if Rodney Childers hits on something.
McDowell win Watkins Glen, we could see.
Well, that's in the playoffs now, but he could win Daytona.
I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Yeah, but he could win Daytona. He's done that before. He could win Daytona, then win Watkins Glen, and go right on through.
Win Talladega or the Roval, and then Martinsville, and then all of a sudden McDowell supremacy.
It still don't feel right to me that Watkins Glen's in the playoffs. It don't feel like a playoff race.
Same. I'm the same way, but I gotta say, I'm kind of going with Ross right now too. That they're the team, the number one team that needed this break more than anybody else.
Besides maybe Kyle Busch and Corey LaJoy.
Well, that's just game over at this point.
Kyle Busch is already broken, so I don't
Yeah.
know what more of a break can do.
that man we'll talk about later in the show on Pat McAfee. He was just like, he's done. He's just done. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers everything on the track. Really quick into the ratings here. A solid showing by the Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis, 2.1 rating to 3.63 million viewers on NBC, up 26% in ratings and 28% in viewership from the road course last year. Now it was pointed out the road course did go against some preseason football games, so it got kind of blacked out in some areas, but still not 26 to 28% of it. At the red flag, right before signing off NBC, the race peaked at 4.5 million viewers. And to put in perspective, and this is the big reason why I'm more upset about the switch than, oh crap, I got to switch the channel. The finish on USA Network garnered actually only 2.34 million viewers. So they retained about, 53%, give or take. I'm just eyeballing it.
Plot twist, we peaked high because people were tuning in to breaking news.
Oh yeah.
Now the NBC portion was the most watched sporting event of the weekend by a pretty good margin. Is down 16% from 2020. That was on the 4th of July, but it also is important to reference with that one. Everybody was locked inside as well with the vid going on. In the lower series, pretty good as well. Xfinity, 1.16 million viewers, up 13% from last year's. Road course race and trucks with 432,000 was up 7%. It was FS1's top event of the week, even more than all of those crappy sports shows that they insist on us all watching, that nobody apparently watches because the truck series is beating it.
Never forget what they took from us.
Race Hub, speed, all of it. Now, guys, we have the poll. 13,000 voted in it. 13% said great, 52 good, 65 was the net positive. Danny will probably be able to let us know how many liked it and didn't. 20% said it was average, 7% below average, 8% bad. So 15% of you thought that this was a negative race through and through.
8,450 people on YouTube's voting system say that they like this.
Now, as for, I'm pulling up. Oh, wow. We had 622 comments. Damn. Make sure I got everything ready. So it's Captain 6703 was the first commenter. Is it positive, negative, or meme to the profile that has Jack Sparrow as the profile picture?
That's definitely a meme.
Definitely a meme.
Meme town.
So it's a bit of a longer one. It says, Jarrett, oh, look, no rain at the Brickyard. And then it's a story here. Jack Sparrow, of course not. Captain Jack Sparrow held off Calypso so NASCAR could experience a rain-free race. I apparently say thank you to Captain Jack. Whatever price you say, I shall pay it. And Jack Sparrow wants me to read the entire NASCAR romance novel series, which I say, wait a minute. What did you just say? And Jack said, you did say payment of any kind. Otherwise, Calypso is going to rain out Daytona. Savvy. To which I say, a giant long F-bomb. And the Pirates of the Caribbean theme starts playing. The only thing is, I have a bit of an edge over Captain Jack Sparrow. I have the rum. This is where the rum's gone.
Wait, do you just keep rum by your desk, Jarrett?
He has everything by his desk. He has weights. He has random diecast. He has everything.
Yeah.
He lives in his office.
Well, definitely needed that after last Sunday.
I got the rum, and from Captain Morgan, the better captain.
Damn.
Like Jarrett, I realized at this point, people are gonna just have you read their own novel since you refuse to read that novel.
I mean, I'm only reading it because it's an off week. If it was any other week, I would have just given the synopsis. But I refuse to read those novels. Raptor Hard Mind said with the top comment, fun fact, Priest has been involved in 2 controversial finishes 2 years in a row. Absolute BS. Which one was last year again? Was it the Indy Road Course? No, it wasn't that one.
It was it Pocono? Is that what they're referring to? The
Yeah,
Pocono finish?
that's the one. And everyone keeps putting stuff about him in here. Kyle Keesgan, I think is how you say it, said if I had a nickel for every time NASCAR waited 20 seconds to throw a caution for Ryan Preece parked on the backstretch, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. There's 622 comments, so I'm gonna be scrolling through a couple just to find different ones. Kyle Busch spins yellow. Ryan Preece, it says preface. I'm assuming it meant Preece, spins green. NASCAR shrugs. Camerican says Elliott spawned into 4th place. Let's see what else we got. A lot of people upset about NBC changing it because they DVR'd the race and weren't able to watch it. T Wolf says Cody Ware 18th place run. Let's get this man back in the seat full time. Hang the banner. I like that that's actually catching on. A lot of people with just BS, whether they say the letters or the complete words.
Dang.
There's there's a lot of comments. I almost wonder if the gutter comments are going to be positive in this one. I'm Dan. Who are you? Says it wasn't rigged. It was just screwed up. What else do you expect? It's not going to be too positive of a comment section after this one. We don't get 622 comments for a poll like this. If it is, oh my god, Okay, so the first comment also was downvoted a ton, and it's been edited a ton. So I'm not going to read that one. I can read the other ones. I think. Yeah, I can. Okay, so Yvonne says, terrible NASCAR cheated to let Larson win the race 3 times. He was wrong coming off the pits. Had 2 tires on the racetrack, same as Elliott. Well, he wasn't the same as Elliott. Jumped the restart and no caution on the last lap. They want Hendrick to win. It's obvious. Everyone will never attend another NASCAR race. This is just wrong. Yeah, I think as much as I
downvoted.
Yeah, I think that got downvoted a lot for a certain reason. The Sloth Nerd says, meh, I'll call it average since Larson won. So predictable. And Front Dog 81 said, downvote this so it gets mentioned in the gutter pile for NWP this Wednesday, and I'll gift a bunch of memberships. The poll, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's devolved into.
This is what it's become.
What?
you hear this dog? Come here. What do you want?
Oh, is he barking? We can't hear it.
Oh, he barked a second ago because he wants attention.
But it's a good thing it's an off week and we have a little extra time to let this breathe because it took a while this week. Emp, I know that you got to head out now, so just kind of what would you like for the rest of the year, NASCAR fans, to remember? What is your statement for the rest of the season?
Well, I just want to say that NASCAR can be really exciting if they would stop getting in their own way. I think that in a lot of cases, they need to make things a little bit more simple and stop overthinking a lot of how they manage the races. Because the racing in a lot of places it's gotten quite good now, and I think it should be appreciated more. But there is a lot that the sport can do to kind of get out of its own way, so to speak.
Well, we appreciate you being on, man.
Great to have you.
Yeah, it's been good, guys. I'll let you know if something else comes up later in the season. I'll be happy to call in and offer my opinion.
Well, we'll have a wide open door for you, and we should definitely at some point get to another race with you again and have some fun out there. But it's good to see you, man. Who knows? Maybe in 3 weeks we'll have you on again after Richmond. Who knows? But appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. Take care, you guys. Have a good rest of the show.
See you, man. Take care, man.
Bye.
Oh, man. Always fun having Emp on. Now, guys, real quick, let's roll into. I think let's do the first Super Chat stage break, and then we'll just do the lower series into the lightning round.
Shout out to Fred Dog 81. Just I think it's random, but I just got gifted a membership to the Iceberg, so that's pretty clutch. Maybe I'll have to like pay that forward or something once I figure out how to do that.
Eric is now a member.
Hell yeah! Woo. Wait, does that mean I get the cool emojis? Hold on a second.
Yes,
oh
you do.
Yeah. Woo! Bunch of Jared emojis.
Woohoo! I love my face. I'm totally not a
Dog.
narcissist.
Thank you, Fred Dog 81. But yeah, good to have Emp on. He's obviously a good dude, and it's been a while since he was on the show. But when he's coming on, he's going to have strong opinions, and he's going to passionately defend them, and that makes for great content. So nice.
All right, guys, let's get into the first Super Chat stage break. I appreciate all those who have donated so far. And I just see me and the UFOs and Dale calls and croissants. Croissants, Danny?
Croissant.
Starting out here with Groovy Goose for the 5. And real quick, I'm going to also have a stopwatch on, so I'll just time myself on this one. What if crown jewel races went the scheduled distance? It's awkward trying to explain overtime in NASCAR to non-NASCAR fans anyway. As much as I'm not crazy about overtime and all that, I don't want different rules and different races just because it'll make it even more confusing to new fans coming in. But
agree.
One or none, I think, when it comes to that. Palm Tree for the 20. An idea I'd like to share. Could we show the previous week's picks during the pick segment? Example, like Danny picked X and Y drivers to win last week, dark horse, everything, at Indy, and finished third and gained on first how many points. Thank you guys for all you do. Well, we put it on Twitter now. I think it's just it's tough to get everything into the OBS. And on top of that, it's just, we already go so damn long. It would take another 10 to 15 minutes on that, knowing us. But I appreciate it. Maybe in the off season, we might be able to figure something out. Alex left 2 here, one for the 50 and one for the 5. First one says, hot take. Just get rid of overtime already. The only reason we have that stupid thing is, as Emp pointed out, and this is from before the show, by the way, not what Emp said today, because some morons at Talladega rioted over a finish under yellow, and in my opinion, they were sore losers because Junior lost and Jeff Gordon won. It goes back a while more than that, but I think it's here to stay. Alex with the 5 here also says, also, the day NASCAR admits they messed up on a call is the day I play soccer on the moon. Yeah.
Put your moon shoes on, buddy.
I'm getting used to Elton Sawyer saying why I saw what I saw didn't actually happen.
God, he has to have the most thankless job in NASCAR. Like, they just trot him out whenever something goes bad and tells him to just put lipstick on a pig and go for it.
It's like that one meme where it's like, honey, it's time for your 4 a.m. whatever, and then it's just, yes, dear. Looking at a couple others here. Hunter Nixon Fishing for the 5. Jimmy Spencer needs to come back and make Ryan Blaney radio sweetheart. Oh, he'd have a field day with Blaney. Antardas for the 5 here says, not surprised by how the race played out. It was like the Indy 500 in slow motion. 5 making the aggressive dive bombs and everyone else driving to the grass. It was definitely interesting, I will say that, for NASCAR. It looked very different. A Prada for the 50 says, hi, Jared. I appreciate your feedback on the Brickyard 400. I disagree that passing has always been an issue at Indy. 94 and 04 Brickyard 400s are great examples. When high horsepower and low rear downforce are combined, passing can happen. Fix the next gen. I think more or less is saying, I was saying more or less that it's definitely relative as well. I mean, the Gen 4 passed better than, say, like the next gen. But when you compare it to other races at the time, I would say it was a lot less still at Indy. And they complained about aero push and aero problems even back in those races as well, especially 04. But I get your point. I'm all for more horsepower. And last one here from Antar Das. I know people hate the F1 elitist fans. However, watch Spa this weekend. Red Bull hasn't been the fastest car, and Verstappen will start in the back. damn, I can't just bet on Verstappen every week and win.
I think it's been a few. When did Verstappen's lost a couple races in a row now?
Been like 3, 4, or 5 in a row, something like that. Yeah. But I appreciate everybody leaving super chats. We will get to the rest at the end of the show in the second super chat stage break. Now, guys, before we get to the lightning round, it's just off weeks, off weird shows. Let's quickly go into the 2 lower series races, starting with Xfinity. Danny, lead us off on this one. I think let's just start with the finish. The 3 wide pass by Almirola, the slingshot at the end.
The race was the finish.
An all-time stock car finish at this track. I mean, to me, it had the same energy, the same excitement as watching an IndyCar race here, in my opinion. That's just me. I mean, I was equally excited watching those 3 battle for the win as I was watching Joseph Newgarden make that final turn pass for the Indy 500. That's just me. I mean, I know they're not even close to the same spectrum as each other, but in terms of the racing product, they were equally as exciting to me.
Yeah, no, Riley Herbst, it was so old school. He was able to pack air effectively and sort of push.
And he about wrecked and saved it.
Yeah, I mean, with the way he pushed Almirola wide to sort of get that position initially, and then Eric Almirola with the very aggressive defense almost took them both out. Yeah, what a save. Great driving there from Herbst. Clearly, Stuart Haas, probably 2 of the best cars, if not the 2 best cars in the field, finishing 1-2. And great to see a young driver like that take advantage of a good equipment right there.
And I'll say his first win was a very dominating performance at Vegas, but this is probably definitely the defining win of his still young career. He's only 25. He's still got a long ways to go.
Not to sound like the resident Riley Herbst hater here, but he's got 2 wins. I mean, there's not exactly a lot to pick from at this point. I mean, they've both been to be fair, in his defense, they've both been very memorable. 2 very memorable. Very hard
wins to beat this one for sure.
I think again, for me, the finish is completely separate from the race itself, just like the Cup race for me. Like, the finish was awesome. I don't care what you say about Indy and NASCAR altogether, any of that. The finish with the saves, I mean, Herbst had multiple saves in this race too. Great driving on that part. Almirola being the veteran, timing it at what seemed to be the right moment. It reminded me of a half-speed Indianapolis 500 this year, with like Newgarden's pass, when you think that there's no way he can get back, and then he makes it. Same thing with Herbst on this one. Like Cito says, Riley Herbst proving he's not terrible Herbst. And then getting the nice little basically clap on Twitter in approval from Denny Hamlin. I think he said like impressive or something, just like a one-word one. I really enjoyed the finish. I enjoyed like the last 10, 11 laps because there was that build up. There were the 2 that were catching up to Cole Custer at the end of this race and running him down and then trying to time it right. The rest of the race though, for me, and I know this is where I kind of deviate from a lot of other people. I know David Land called this the greatest stock car race in the history of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I disagree. I wasn't crazy about the rest of the race. It was just, I just maybe off principle alone do not like trying to neuter horsepower to make better racing, especially seeing these cars probably could have made a pretty damn good race even with full power. But I just hope
NASCAR, my 4 wide stage finish.
I know it's key jangling, man. NASCAR, all you got to do is jangle some keys in front of NASCAR fans and they'll ask for something like 550 again.
Well, I mean, that's what they did. They did this package like 5 years ago, got a 4 wide stage finish. So they said, oh, gosh, diddly darn it, we'll bring it back. And now with this Riley Herbst, Eric Almirola finish, it's not going to go away. When they come back here next year, they'll be the same exact rules package.
I know. I feel like Michigan could be better because the track is wider. And you could maybe try.
I forgot they're doing it for Michigan as well.
Yeah, and it's Michigan, the next race.
Doesn't need it. Michigan doesn't need it. They could have.
No, I know they don't. I mean, I remember being there in 21 for that race, and it was really fun. Last year's race, for the most part, pretty fun. I really hope that fans don't ask for, that was amazing, we need to do it more. Like, God, we learned did we not learn our lesson 3 years ago? We had this 3 years ago, and it didn't work. We had for 2019 to 21, we had this in Cup. It didn't work.
Yeah, it did. No, I'm just kidding. I was trying to like create good content. Yeah. I think it did work. Did you see Kansas 2020?
Yes, I was there.
That was such a great race. Oh, did you see how close those two cars were? Future Hall of Famers within a car length of each other for about 40 laps.
It was so good. The woman in front of me passed out during the race.
Oh my goodness. Honestly, I'm her though. That's so relatable. Anyway, yeah. No, let's move on. We're just joking around. We're just
Hashtag relatable content, everybody.
The truck race was interesting though, especially post race.
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, Ty Majeski with the solid comeback win too. He had to come up through the pack, and that was
I forget. Was he black flag? What is he penalized for? It was a restart.
Jumping the restart, right? I think. Yeah. And so he had to come to the pits. I believe he got out before being lapped, and he had the best car out there, bar none. I think the only one that could even keep up with him was Christian Eckes. Chastain could a little bit. But the winner is not really what we care too much about on this one. It's like I said, the post race between Eckes and Corey Heim. Heim very upset. Or hold on, Wizard King Nick in the chat brought up a good point. Truck Series. Don't you mean the Daniel Dye Hour?
He was in Xfinity this weekend too, wasn't he?
He actually did better in Xfinity than he did in trucks. He got a top 10.
Yeah, but didn't he end up causing his teammates to have an accident?
We don't talk about that there. Mikey don't like that.
Hey, speaking of his teammates, though, shout out to Shane Van Gisbergen. Did he finish? He was top 5, right? In the Xfinity race?
I think fourth or fifth, somewhere in there.
Dude, he's figuring it out slowly but surely.
Yeah. It was funny. At one point, Ross Chastain is like charging up through there. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, man. Ross is going to get in the middle of this. And you hear Mikey go, is that Daniel Dye?
Here he comes.
No. He's like, is that Danny Dye? Is that Danny Dye? And I'm like, oh, Mikey, shut up. Like, oh my God, look who a spotter is. It's Tim Duggar. Oh, man. Mikey's dream team. But no, the post race was
NWR is coming back.
It's coming back just so that Tim Duggar has a platform for his career and just so that Danny Dye can be on camera.
Tim Duggar will personally play intro music for Daniel Dye at driver introductions.
Anyway, to the post race, Christian Eckes and Corey Heim have a bit of an argument. I don't think it's going to be a scuffle or anything that much yet.
I wasn't expecting a fight. It had been a long time since that incident even went down, and they had plenty of time to cool off. They didn't get wrecked out. Like, that was, I don't think, I was never expecting a big fight. So I was kind of shocked to see that much media presence around them, because I didn't think they were going to fight. I thought they were going to talk, but they were past fighting.
Well, they're the two front runners of the truck series. Like, they are 1 and 2, 1A, 1B. It's going to come down to them all things, most likely at Phoenix. What I took from this was Corey Heim's got a little, you could call it a little edge. Maybe I would just say he's confident. Some would maybe call it overconfidence, but when you've won as many truck races as he has the last year and a half, I think you're allowed to be a little overconfident. But, he gets squeezed, I guess, on a restart. They rub a little bit. Unfortunately, that rub cuts one of his tires down. It had just as good a chance of cutting one of Eckes's tires down. Heim stays on the lead lap due to some loophole in the rule book, I guess, and decides to swerve and run into Eckes under caution. Thought that might be a $50,000 fine. I was just wondering. I wasn't sure. Get no penalty for Corey Heim for that. Anyway, he rallies to still run back inside the top 5. His truck was ultimately not very good. Tricon, all their trucks were terrible. Like, William Sawalich was running 21st. So, Heim just didn't have it tonight. And I was a little surprised that he then went and confronted Eckes after already voicing his displeasure on the track over really a non-incident. I mean, you could even hear it in Eckes's voice, like, oh, okay, whatever you say, Corey. Like, that's the kind of incident that you text about later in the week, or maybe you bring it up next time you see him during practice. To me, that wasn't deserving of like this confrontation, like Danny pointed out, in front of half a dozen or more reporters, cameras. Fox had a freaking boom mic basically right on top. We heard every word. And now we're talking about it Others are talking about it. I'll bet you once they get to, is it Richmond next for them? Reporters are going to ask them questions about it. I don't think this will blossom into anything much bigger, but now for at least a week, it's a bigger distraction than it needed to be. And the only reason I bring this up with Heim and mention his overconfidence perhaps is he never deals with adversity. He's running top 5 every single week, wins most of the, not most, but wins a lot. A couple of noteworthy times now, he has dealt with adversity and he hasn't handled it particularly well. Phoenix last year, which was egregious, got wrecked from the championship lead. He immediately goes out and retaliates, wrecks his own truck in the process. That wasn't great. You can believe his anger is justified. I do. He didn't handle it the best. And here at IRP, he got rubbed a little bit and it turned into a full-on confrontation. Like that didn't need, in my opinion, that didn't need to happen.
No. It's a controversy, but it feel like it could turn into a controversy if Heim elects to do so. I feel like Eckes at this point just like, okay. I remember watching on Friday night and they showed the replay and I'm like, that's it? Like are we sure that's the right one? Is Fox like foxing or something? Or is that actually the right one? And it was. I don't get what the issue is. He raced him at a short track like you race at a short, like this is the truck series. That's what you get upset about?
Exactly. That's why I just like, he had a right to be frustrated because it cut his tire down, but you swerved at him under caution. That's already a gray area. I'm like, okay, you've made your point. Ooh. And then the confrontation afterwards, I thought it was a little silly. I'll be honest. I did. I was like that in front of all these reporters, we can hear every word. Like I would have handled that a a little differently. I felt like an overreaction.
What are we expecting? I'm just like say, yo, mama, something like that. We're not going to see that happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think that covers our extended look at Indy. Let's go over to the one, the only. There's not much of it in our area at this point right now, Danny, but the lightning round as we strike Eric again. Also, just to bring up to everybody in the chat, we are now, I believe, 150 likes away from on my end from the like goal. So good job.
I'll order tonight. See if we can get it.
You have your burners.
Get them ready. So for the poll this week, I thought since we're going into the off weekends, let's have a little fun with it. I asked of the hosts' favorite bands, what ones are your favorite? 23% voted Ghost with Eric. Danny, I didn't know what yours was for sure, so I put Shinedown, and they got 30%. And mine, we got 47% Led Zeppelin. I think I had a little.
That's a classic. That's a tough one to beat. That was your favorite band. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Shinedown definitely works. I'd say they're definitely one of them.
Yeah, Avenged Sevenfold's my favorite modern band, but I grew up on Led Zeppelin. I want to say I have 102 Led Zeppelin songs on my phone. So there's a lot. There's a lot. So I appreciate that. And should we pull the chat since we're live, like just for the hell of it?
Sure.
Because I think we have different audiences on the YouTube and
maybe.
Let's just see.
Shinedown, Led Zeppelin, and Ghost. Yeah, you got a lot of different eras and subgenres covered there.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I was surprised how many people actually knew when I had brought up Pinkly Smooth on a podcast once. I was surprised how many people actually knew who that was. But let's see what we got. We'll do the poll during the lightning round. If I can pull it up. There it is. Then first off again, NASCAR, the NWP channel, by the way, we've been pretty good at uploading on it. Full episodes will be uploaded on there if you miss them or anything like that, so be sure to subscribe. It's at NWP Clips. It's the old Clips channel. We've been good all summer at putting full shows on there, so I wanted to let everyone know now. The NASCAR main channel, the highlights they had from Indianapolis actually made the top 10 in YouTube's trending page this past week. I think it peaked at like 7.
Because nobody could see the finish, so they all went to YouTube.
Probably, but hey, there's the interest. I'm just trying to.
Matter the reason, just matters it got there, right?
I'm trying to find a silver lining in there.
I want to see how many views it got up to.
John Force also has started the next phase of his recovery and now has been moved out of the neurological hospital he was in and has been allowed to go home. Next up is physical therapy and some recovery processes for his speech. But overall, John Force's recovery is doing pretty well. So
good.
Very positive news on that front. Just figured
Almost 200,000 views for the extended highlights on YouTube, which is okay.
Sweet.
Yes.
The NBA, a little off topic here, is heading to Prime, so it might hurt the cross promotion for Turner Sports TNT, but could actually really help the cross promotion for the Prime portion. And I wouldn't be surprised if on Thursday Night Football this year, Prime actually puts commercials out for their upcoming NASCAR stuff. A lot of these newer partners are pretty good when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Dying at this guy in the chat. Larson winning was featured on Wii News.
Real quick, finishing off here. NWP 400 is on August 20th on the IDK Player YouTube channel. If you are interested in signing up for it, go on his community tab. I believe it's pretty recent. He has the signups. Signups are due this time next week. If you are interested in sponsoring any segments in the event or anything like that, or helping in any way, contact us at weeklypodcastguest@gmail.com. The same one we did for the top 75 list. God.
Remember when you say, this doesn't mean you'll be a guest on the podcast.
It does not.
Where you send your list.
It's just where you send anything you're interested in. Same goes.
Update that email.
Yeah, we probably should.
If you want to cuss Jared out, you can send it too. It's going to get deleted.
Yeah, I'll look at it, laugh, put it in our group chat, and delete it. And hey, if you want to sponsor the show, email us there too. Go ahead, whatever.
Podcastguest@gmail.com.
To be fair, that was made in 2019 when we had more guests on a regular basis need emails to go.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Today, we sent a carrier pigeon to EmpLemon to get him on this week. So we've changed our method of communication a bit.
I'm sending out smoke signals soon to Slapshoot, see if he's interested in a thing in the future.
I forgot he's a caveman. He doesn't have modern technology.
Finishing out when it comes to the lightning round still being tonight. Next week we'll be on Danny's channel.
We're back on my channel. I feel like it's been ages.
We'll be back July 31st, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And to be fair, with everything like not going on, we might actually have some pretty cool ideas or a little mini segment or something if there's not a ton of news.
It'll be abstract, unusual. You won't know what you're going to see. We might even put the Zoom link in the chat, didn't we? Like we did in season 1, episode 1. We're not going to do that. We aren't going to do that.
I mean, we do have the line of defense now. I can actually choose who would come into the call or not.
That is very true.
Instead of how it was before, where it was just a floodgate of people.
Let's not promise.
No, we're not promising anything. I'm just saying, on-air production meeting, like you might be able to get into the link. That does not guarantee you will get on the show. If we even do it.
I kind of just want to like see like a wall of like squares of people. Like how many can we fit in here? Like 25 or something at once?
No, I got the big one, so it's like 100. No, it
all right, everybody talk at once.
Once you get past 25, it just leaves like on the top of the screen, there'll just be a line of squares lighting up.
Yeah.
You have to scroll. Yeah. Well, that's still, we can have a wall. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a kid looking down at his phone like that one episode with his little brother jumping off the bunk bed like that.
Oh, yeah. People doing stunts in the back. That was
and you know what?
That's how we met Rusty Waller.
Yes.
So.
Moral of the story, we met Rusty out of that. But thank you guys for everybody watching through the lightning round, the late lightning round, but it's an interesting show. Now, as for what else we got going on, we have a couple headlines to look at this week. First off, we don't have it in the itinerary, but both Danny and Eric, you guys brought it up before the show. Couch Racer put out something a little interesting on Brett Griffin's burner account.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be.
The burner account is an official business at this point. I don't even know anymore.
There's a few people who run it. He's one. I'm not sure that he's the person who tweeted this, but yeah, Couch Racer just before the show tonight said silly season may have just added a new layer today. Wonder who breaks the news. Y'all have any and then in quotes lucky guesses? So the lucky is, I think, is what you latch on to, and I immediately thought of lucky number 7. Corey LaJoie is gone, but that would be wild. That would be wild if LaJoie. I mean, he signed a multi-year extension last summer. But we know how this works. The first year is guaranteed. The second year is a team option. The third year is a team, et cetera. It's often a team option. So multi-year deals are questionable. If they got rid of Corey LaJoie, I don't know who they replace him with. I think Jarrett brought up a good point. Maybe it was you, Danny. I forget. One of y'all brought up a good point before the show that maybe they just keep Zane Smith for another year, work out a deal with Trackhouse, and it'll be Zane, McDowell, and Hocevar. Interesting. But I don't want to dwell on it too much because, we don't know. I'm reading into the word lucky. This is also just a rumor from an account that is often right about rumors, but I don't believe has a perfect track record on rumors either. So
reckless speculation.
Keeping that in mind.
That's just reckless speculation. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
It would be lucky for Rodney Childers, says Noah Coleman in the chat. That's rough.
The brutality of the chat has not left in the off week, and I appreciate it. I would not be surprised though if not next year. Like I think he'll probably be in that car next year, but I would not be surprised if after that it's Kyle Busch.
Yeah, no, that's plausible. I could see that. That is a very plausible thing. Here's the other option. I wonder, what about Austin Dillon? Could, he said, hey, I'm here till the end of my contract, but maybe there's been some hard conversations. He is still like 32nd or something in points. Maybe Dillon's out, and I don't know. Again, Austin Hill, like who do you put in that seat? I don't know. But maybe that's another conversation. I'm just trying to think, who would be unlucky? Like, man, Austin Dillon, I'm out. That stinks.
Jupiter Rain said stacking pink slips.
Oh, man.
That's bad.
Someone said stacking stack ups.
Stacking futility.
No, come on, y'all.
Dude.
I don't like to pile on Corey LaJoie. He is a good dude.
I don't either.
He's had some lowlights this year,
but
unfortunately.
he sets himself up for it a little bit. But still, the chat's brutality, man. I'm interested if this becomes anything heading into the weekend or next week, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just we need some off week traffic on the Twitter page, and this is the best way.
That's rent is due.
He seems like the kind of got to do that. So,
but what was real news in all of this is Haas. They have signed their Cup driver, and it is shocking. I mean, just absolute mind-shattering who it would. It's Cole Custer. Cole Custer will be driving the 41. That's actually the interesting part to me, is that it's going to be
keeping that number. And
yeah, I thought they'd maybe bring up the 00. Maybe they keep the 4 because of significance. But the 14's a Stewart one. But the 41, that one was interesting.
I know all of you guys in the chat bought Cole Custer t-shirts in 2020, 2021, so now you can whip them back out. Don't have to get them reprinted.
Nobody needs to change their Cole Custer tattoos.
Exactly. That's what they're doing. They're looking out for the hardcore Cole Custer fans.
We're gonna just get used to Stone Cold 20, Stone Cold 41. Here we go, everybody.
We're gonna make this joke, and then we're gonna have somebody tag us on Twitter like, "I have a Cole Custer tattoo, asshole."
Hey, that's exciting. I love that. Someone pointed this out. Someone pointed this out, that it's ironic that Custer in the 41 was replaced by Priest, who will now be replaced by Cole Custer effectively.
Yeah.
That is some interesting irony. This team's going to have an RFK alliance, which I think they're going to run about like Justin Hailie has run this year, because you think about it, they're both small. Rick Ware and now Haas will be small Ford teams with an RFK alliance and a fairly young driver behind the wheel. I think Cole Custer is probably a little better than Justin Hailie at this point, but I expect him to be 25th to 30th in points. That's my early prediction.
Yeah, I don't see this team like really piling up wins or anything.
No.
I think if I'm like thinking of a stat line, like I could see this team getting like 0 wins, maybe a pole, a top 5, and like 4 or 5 top 10s. Like that's the kind of season I see.
I'm pulling up Cole Custer's stats from when he was in Stewart Haas equipment. His best season by far was his rookie year. That was the year Harvick, his teammate, won 9 races. So Haas cars were decent that year, to say the least. He had 7 top 10s and 1 win. And he finished out. He obviously made the playoffs, was out in the first round. Do you think he has more than 7 top 10s?
No.
Next year?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think he has probably 4 to 5. That'd be my guess.
That team was so much better back then, even starting the downfall a little bit. Like, I
think Custer's a better driver now than he was 4 years ago, but I think the car is going to be significantly worse. So
yeah, I could see maybe them lucking into a win, maybe a track he's really good at or something. They run like top 5 in a rain delay or something, but
it's also like, even though the family connection is there, how long do you let this experiment go to redo it?
I think they're going to sell that charter once prices go back up. That's my guess. I think they'll sell it in a year or two.
The interesting part in all this is like,
if charter still exists by then,
we'll find out. But I think let's just, on the assumption they do at that point, let's talk about the other interesting part of this whole deal. A brief mention, questioning a little bit here, the possibility of Hailie Deegan maybe being in the 98 or 00 next year. It's been floated out there. It's been rumored. I believe they mentioned her in the press conference, saying that there's something still left in the tank. They think.
She's not washed up at 23.
My thing is, at this point, like, how much full-fledged funding is there in the tank too? Because I mean, what it seems like no offense, it's been dwindling. We don't see the Monster logo on here like we used to. I don't know if Monster's gonna stick around and say, yeah, Riley Herbst's been great. Let's do Hailie Deegan now instead.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I don't know how good is that team still going to be next year? Like, is that going to be the feeder team for Roush if they have that RFK alliance? You know, like, is it still going to be this top level team? I love, because in the chat, I guarantee we're going to see it. We're going to see the war about Hailie Deegan. Like, there's going to be people who I think I side closer to where I'm at, where I'm like, you know, I think she has talent, but just she's never performed on the big level. Like, Arca hasn't had the performance. Some pretty good truck rides didn't perform well. AM Racing, we've seen the issues with now, but like starting out had pretty similar setup to what Brett Moffitt had, and they changed stuff around, still didn't work out. I almost wonder, like, you know, yeah, she probably, if this team is like it is next year, then I wouldn't be surprised seeing her in the top 20. But I think then you ask the same question that we kind of asked about Riley Herbst early on, and maybe she blossoms into a Riley Herbst type that wins a race a year or something. Like, why aren't you performing better in that car? It just feels like a circular argument at this point, where we just keep reaching the same places over and over again, hitting the same and treading the same water.
Yeah, like, I look at Hailie Deegan, and I've never gotten the vibe that she's completely in over her head. She's just not that good. And you know, she didn't start racing stock cars until much later than most other professional stock car drivers do these days. So she's always been, you know, battling from behind, and she struggled at ThorSport and at DGR, did not improve in trucks. And this year's been a disappointment in Xfinity, or it was before they parted ways. I still think she could one day evolve into a competent NASCAR driver, but it's going to take a perfect situation. And on paper, I think Haas could be that situation if it's the same team as it is this year with Riley Herbst and Cole Custer. But at the same time, if you watch that press conference, Joe Custer was saying things like, hey, we have to go out and win races because our technical partners rely on our information. If we're not giving them good data and good information, we lose a customer effectively. So they can't put someone in that car who's going to run 18th, because that makes their equipment look bad. They could potentially lose business. So they're going to need to get someone who obviously brings some funding, but is also capable of running top 10. And that's not Hailie Deegan right now. It still could be one day. Like, to say she's a joke, she's awful, would be disingenuous and false. Mm-hmm. But she's not good. She needs a lot of development, and I'm not sure Haas is the right pairing to make that happen.
And I have to ask too, like, if Haas is going to be that top level team still, why would Hailie Deegan be the number one option? Especially if the funding isn't necessarily there. Like, they'd be a top team goes after top drivers. That's the way I kind of see it. And sometimes they have fill-in drivers.
It just seems like there's much better drivers they can get right now.
Yeah, so it to me, it's like, I don't know if this is the glass slipper kind of situation that many Deegan defenders are really thinking it's going to be at this point. Again, I hope she does well, because I think that a Hailie Deegan performing is really good for NASCAR. I mean, I think arguably outside of NASCAR is either the or one of the most popular drivers currently in the sport. But like the Danica proved that if the performance isn't there, sponsorship does not last forever. And especially in the NASCAR we're in today, it's I think even more brutal.
Yeah. I think Deegan has even said herself that it's like it's hard to sell sponsorship on a car when she has all these other platforms that have greater exposure or more cost effective. Like, I mean, even she's almost pitched against herself, I think, in the past. I mean, it is what it is. It's the truth. So I don't know. I'd like to see her return to NASCAR someday. If she's in Haas equipment, though, I mean, obviously that's it. Like, if she doesn't show any improvement, then I'm tired of it. Like, I guess I'm a realist. Like, a lot of people are like, she should be out of the sport entirely. And my takeaway is she's a Ford development driver with some funding and a huge following. She's not going away, not completely. So as long as she's here, I'd like to talk about or discuss a situation where she maybe has the best chance of eventually being successful. And that's why we're debating, is Haas the right fit? Does she need to go back to trucks? AM Racing wasn't the right fit. So what else is out there? Like, that's the more interesting conversation at this point. If you're arguing about she doesn't belong in NASCAR, blah, 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 I feel like you're just wasting your breath, because that's not likely what's going to happen.
And it's not like also that she's running in the bottom 3 every week, and she's, like some of these drivers
like
we've
I said,
seen.
She's not in over her head.
No.
At least that's not how it appears. She's racing back there, just she's not moving forward.
Now, some other news through the week that we got to hear that was, I honestly think, really funny was off the track. Kyle Busch kind of going back to old Rowdy for a little bit on the Pat McAfee show.
He was so good. I think I said it. That was the best 15 minutes of driver content we've gotten all year. And I mean, kudos to Kyle Busch.
Pat McAfee show it's an interesting animal. It has a huge fan base that is a lot of casual sports people. So for them to put Kyle Busch on that platform tells me that, in their eyes at least, Kyle Busch is a name that everyone should know at this point. And I appreciate that. And I like the idea that Kyle Busch could be a superstar to put out there, in front of people who don't often hear about NASCAR.
Yeah, and he was just on his game, talking about fights, talking about racing etiquette, vowing revenge against Corey LaJoie. And did you guys catch him in the media center then? It was so funny. You put him on ESPN in front of a microphone. He's a showman. I mean, he was talking, lashing out, criticizing, harsh words, brought up Ricky Spinhouse again. And then, like, literally a few hours later, he's in the media center at Indianapolis. Hey, so have you talked to Corey LaJoie about last week? No. Well, are you going to get revenge? No, I'm not. No comment.
Well, people aren't going to like me saying
it. It's the difference of the environment. It's the difference of the host.
It's boring as hell. That's what it is.
It's just funny. It's how you know it's all intentional. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Kyle Busch has a personality, but to say it's entirely involuntary is incorrect. Like, we've talked in the past how he leaned into playing the heel. He's leaned in more recently into playing the hero. Like, he's capable of intentionally switching it on and off depending on what he wants to achieve.
Well, I still think, though, it's like the NASCAR media side of it. I mean, it's the same stock and answers every time. It's the same 5 people asking the same 5 questions in the same 5 ways. And then it's like, I mean, no wonder these drivers have the same damn answers about everything, unless it's right after a race. And then you got Pat McAfee, who's like, be yourself, Kyle Busch. Tell us what you want. I'll rip my sleeves off right now. Let's do it. Just say what you want. And then they're like asking him all these different, like, I feel like every Pat McAfee interview, they have found a different way to ask a driver if they piss in this fire suit. Like, every single time. And it's like, yeah, okay, for me and like every other NASCAR fan, we're like, okay, like, that's funny, whatever. We've had the same commercials. But for somebody watching outside of it, they're like, no effing way. Those things really do soak it all up. Like, I think that's the big difference with it. I think if NASCAR media members, and I know probably a couple won't like me saying this, but if they like actually asked questions that fans wanted to hear, we'd probably get better answers. But
yeah, I don't watch much Pat McAfee, but I do watch a lot of sports shows, and I try to study how hosts conduct themselves, especially with guests. And he does do a great job. That whole group, they do a great job of making the guest very comfortable, especially when they're in studio. That was the difference. Kyle Busch he's done a spot on Pat McAfee's show a few times this year, but it's always Zoom calls. This was the first time because it was in Indy, and I guess, yeah, McAfee, former Colt, he's in Indianapolis. Because it was in person, it was even more laid back and conversational. And that was, I mean, I think that made all the difference.
I just got to give it props to Pat McAfee. First of all, I don't know how he handles his schedule because he's always doing his show. He's on Monday Night Raw commentary.
Money.
He's going to be doing College Game Day again. He just announced that. The man is everywhere, doing everything, talking about any kind of sport. He'll talk about wrestling. He'll talk about football, basketball, hockey, NASCAR on his show. Talk about college football on the weekend. You know, he'll talk about it all.
Say what you want about the guy, because I know I've heard, know people hear stuff, whatever, behind the scenes, whatever like this, and say what you want about him. The man's talented, and
he is a professional personality.
Yeah,
like basically, yeah.
He bet on himself that he would be his own brand, and the more that NASCAR can play into that and have people like that, and maybe learn from that, and have some of these drivers bet on themselves being their brands, I think the better of it, because we might not all like what we hear. I'm sure Stenhouse fans didn't like hearing Spinhouse for the 100th time. Trust me, I said it once on this show, and I had like 5 Stenhouse fans in my DMs like, "What is wrong with you? That was a couple years ago." Like, shit like that. I know the LaJoy fans aren't happy. LaJoy isn't happy, but you know what? We're all having a good ass time talking about it, and I wish there was more of this. Like, it's just fun. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as Pat McAfee, but something in that vein.
I'm having fun because NASCAR is on a mainstream, and I would put Pat McAfee borderline mainstream. Yeah,
he's
Pat McAfee's mainstream sports these days. So, yeah, we got NASCAR on mainstream sports, and they're not messing things up for the most part, from what I could tell.
Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of it, as I think it was pretty easy to tell. Now, I will say, like I said, Corey LaJoy was not very happy. He was wondering why he didn't respond to his text, and as Kyle Busch said, is like, well, your story changed 4 times. You're lying.
I haven't heard LaJoy's podcast this week. Does he talk about it yet? Has it? I assume it's out. I haven't seen if it's out yet.
I saw today it's out, but I didn't have the time to actually go in and hardline listen to it. But I'm sure he's not happy. I mean, why would he be? He got called out in front of 400, 500,000 people at the end of the day that ended up watching Pat McAfee show every day. Like, I wouldn't be happy either. I don't get happy when I get called out in here for being a hypocrite in front of anywhere from 400 to 1,000 people. I don't know how I'd handle 500,000. But I like it. I hope it. And you know what? We got Hamlin and Larson at the front of the field. Maybe we'll have LaJoy and Busch at the back of the field as our rivalry back there, our defining mid rivalry. But I think that pretty much concludes the big headlines of the week heading into the off weeks. By the way, we are about 100 away on my end from the like goal. So, if Danny wants to just sort of guilt them into making more burner accounts, go for it.
I mean, look, guys, it's not looking likely that, in all honesty, this week we have 410 watching and 454 likes. We need 101 more likes. So if you want to go tell your parents, friends, whatever, to just come in and watch us for a few minutes, see if they like us, and just like us, on the stream. That'd be very beneficial if you'd like to have this segment. But I mean, if you guys don't want to, then we don't have to. Okay?
Gaslight them harder.
Yeah.
But that leaves our last segment of the night before we get to our final Super Chat stage break. The prediction segment. With this one, again, each host makes 3 NASCAR motorsports or show-related predictions. We'll keep track each week of the right and wrong ones. Try and keep them concise and within 2 to 3 years generally of the prediction, though we can wedge a little bit of that line here or there. Let's go to the accountability session on my end. I said at least one driver would crash into the Turn 1 wall at Indianapolis Motor Speedway due to a brakes failure. Thank God I was wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. Eric, you said Jimmy Johnson would finish in the top 20 at the Brickyard 400. He did not.
He was close.
He was close.
No.
He was close, but he did not. And Danny, you said Caitlin Clark would be at IMS as a special guest for the Brickyard 400. She was not.
She's never going to a NASCAR race. I give up on her.
Yeah.
She even had her face on a car.
And then she face planted into the turn 4 wall. As for our prediction percentages, I am still leading at 35.71%. Eric at a clean third, correct at 33.33%, and Danny at 27.08% correct. So 0 for 1 for all of us. And I get to start us out this week. So I'm going to go a little fun with this one. This one for next year's 2025 Brickyard 400. My prediction is NASCAR will reduce the horsepower for next year's Brickyard. Similar to the Xfinity Series.
My first prediction is kind of bending the rules a little bit, I'll be completely honest. I originally wrote down that Cup Series will never race the Indy road course again, but I know the parameters are we do within the next couple of years. Let's just say my prediction is that next year it stays on the oval, and I know they toyed with the idea of alternating. I don't think there'll be any road course races in the next 3 years. It'll all be the oval or nothing. It'll be the oval. They'll be at the oval.
Yeah. Danny.
All right. My first one is not a single NASCAR driver will attend or at least post that they attend an Olympic event during the break, despite many being able to afford it. So if you can find one, then I'm wrong.
My next one, I'm just going to go to the next round here. My next one is that Kyle Busch will wreck or fight Corey LaJoie by the end of 2024. A lot of guys vow, sometimes even the ones we think that are going to own up to their word vow to do something and don't. I don't think Kyle Busch is a man to go back on his word when it comes to getting back at somebody. I think he is that petty to go after Corey LaJoie, and I think it's going to happen off the record. I think it could actually happen before the Southern 500.
It's funny. I was also in a similar vein going to predict that at some point before the end of this year, Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse will be involved in some sort of incident. Not like the big one at Daytona and they both happen to be involved, but like direct contact between the two, or it's just the two of them, or Stenhouse says something shady and Busch has to respond. It's a little vague again. I apologize, but I predict there will be another chapter in their rivalry before the end of this season.
Pat McAfee will attend the 2025 Daytona 500, hosting his show at Daytona as well.
Ooh, I like that one. That's a good one. That would be interesting. I'd be very interested to see the reaction from fans, drivers, and media on that, because I feel like all three would be vastly different. So that leads to my final prediction, and my final prediction is this. When they come back at Richmond, there will be no new winner to qualify into the Truck Series playoffs at Richmond. It will be a repeat winner, whether it's, off the record, whether it's Majeski, Eckes, Heim, or Raja, you name it. I do not think we will have a repeat winner for the Truck Series, or I do think we will have a repeat winner for the Truck Series. I do not think we'll have a new winner qualify their way in through a win. I just don't see it out of any of the ones on the outside looking in.
My final prediction is another Kyle Busch related one. I think Kyle Busch will not drive for Richard Childress Racing in 2026.
All right. My last one is 40 Cup Series. We will see somebody outside of the playoff cutoff line win to get in before the playoffs begin.
Okay. All right.
Oh my God, I just saw what Noah Coleman put. What do you mean, Jarrett? Look at Daniel die. Oh God. I said before, man, I for his sake, I hope he does well and I hope he wins a ton of races. Like, I hope he has a good career. But man, I hope Mikey's not in the booth.
Like, just Mikey, be careful how much you build him up, because I mean, it could just be a real ball buster if it doesn't work out for him again, Mike. I mean, let's be careful.
That's low. All right. That will do it for the prediction segment. By the way, we are currently 68 likes away. We're almost at 500, which good on you, chat.
Well done, chat. But not good enough.
Not good enough. So that leads to the final Super Chat stage break, which I will get on to right now. Sorry, you'll have to wait for the preview of Richmond to see the playoff points. Or pick points. Can you tell it's the off week? My brain is already off.
An unusual show. We got special guests. We're talking to a Spiral. We had puppy reveal. Now we
have no random driver because you guys just don't like us enough.
Sucks, man. It's really humbling. This really is bringing us down a peg or two.
Oh.
We needed this. We honestly needed this. This is good. This is good for us. A little humility goes a long way.
I like how
I promise, since I have less subscribers, we'll have a lower like goal next week.
I like how the chat's like, why don't you move it down? Like, that's not the point of a like goal is not to make it easy to hit halftime every week.
Okay, I'm sorry, but Jarrett is 79,000. Eric, what's your size these days? I don't remember for your subscribers.
12 billion.
Okay, 12 billion. I'm 26,000. We can't all have the same like goal, guys.
Yeah, it's a moving bar.
Why'd you make it 555? It's got to be difficult. It's got to be difficult.
But why not 550? Like the horsepower.
I mean, do you want to put that bad juju on us?
I guess you're right.
I can edit it that little bit.
No. I'm just saying next week we should do like 483.
Or 401. Just do it like a New Hampshire race.
Yeah. That extra mile makes all the difference.
People went up 525. Like they're trying to bargain now.
They're trying to do live negotiations.
and then there's Wizard King Nick saying 569. Like, you're going against what you need, guys.
Oh, people are even paying to rise against Jared. There shouldn't be a like goal.
Maybe we'll talk about that for next year. But let's get to the final super chat stage break. Fred Dog 81 for the 5. I can't figure out the 24. Is he more likely to go to the final 4 or get knocked out before the round of 8? Is it time to worry about Byron? Well, he kind of does this every year, like Danny had said earlier.
Yeah, that's what he does in the summer. He's charging. He's charging up for the playoffs. That's all he does.
He was a little more consistent last year, so it is a little concerning that they've lost some of that this year. I don't know. It's what's a little surprising is that I would argue he might even be the 4th Hendrick guy right now. Like I think Larson, Elliott, and maybe even Bowman the last few weeks have been a little quicker consistently.
48 should have been the rightful winner of the Daytona 500. This is wrong.
I've made a video about it earlier this week. It's been a rough year for Crown Jewel events. It's been rough. Yeah. Rowdy 8 _ diecast left 2 here. 1 for the 2, 1 for the 4.99. Says Indy was great. I highly recommend anyone to go. Yeah, I mean, say what you want about the racing. Indy in person it's the mecca of motorsports. It's amazing.
Even though I've only been there for a road course race, it was still very nice to be there.
It's a cool facility, no doubt.
And he also said let's see, that a certain person said that we should replace military generals with NASCAR drivers. Which driver would make the best battlefield commander? I like that one.
Interesting question.
It's funny. I saw something on Twitter about this, and someone said Corey LaJoie leading in an army knows a crash tank that fell off like a road or something.
Kamikaze.
Oh my God.
I kid.
I would say Brad Keselowski. He seems tactical, patriotic.
Waving the American flag. Here we come.
Exactly. Yeah, I can picture it.
I like what Peter says in there, General Cole Custer.
What's the Chase Briscoe account from back in the day? Like Civil War Chase Briscoe?
I forgot about that one.
Where did that go? I love that account.
They probably just went to college and matured.
Oh, damn maturity. You need to be like us and never mature.
What happened to free time? Darn it.
I like I don't know who would get. Some are saying like Carson Hocevar, Captain Briscoe. Carson
Hocevar is what?
You're going.
I don't see
blazing.
that. I wouldn't mess with a pissed off Chris Buescher.
Yeah, I can see that.
That scares me. Garabuki for the 20 here says, bad day for a watch party. Summary. Buds are upset with the calls, except our resident Hendrick fan, and think the Larson redemption story was think the Larson redemption story made NASCAR give it to him. Their words. See restart jump and final caution mishap. Yeah, there was a lot going around social media for sure with that. And I will say, if I watch it with other people, I guarantee there'd be a lot of yelling. Irvin, thank you for the 10. I got a good way to release all the bad juju after Indy. A road trip to Montreal and walk Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I went to the track and public park and walked to enjoy the scenery and be active. That's awesome.
Fun. That's really cool.
By the way, light goal wise, we're 38 away. So,
oh my gosh, I'm actually doing
gaslight harder. NAS Carson with the 10 here. Hey, NWP, IRP, 11 and 19. Argue was the best Brickyard Indy in person. Xfinity, best race, I can't speak. Best race, great finish. Brickyard 400, very boring. Didn't stay for stupid 5 victory celebration after stupid NASCAR calls. Totally not biased.
Did the crowd boo when he won, or did they
No,
cheer still?
They cheered.
They probably still cheered.
At least from what I could tell, most of them cheered.
I mean, knowing how honestly horrible his Indy 500 weekend went, it was a nice visual to see him win it.
2 things here. 2 $10 super chats from Matthew. First 2 things I would get rid of would be the overtime and the stages. Whether Steve Phelps will admit it or not, the whole thing is becoming gimmicky. Even if it ends under caution, so be it. And says one more thing: the series needs to be a sport again. Sport should come before spectacle. In my opinion, it's up to the fans to be entertained, and if they're not, that's on them. I feel like though you've cultivated a certain mentality towards it all over the last 25 years. I think at this point we've crossed the Rubicon, no matter which way you want to go about it, though. And if that's what the fans want it, and it seems like the fans want overtimes.
It's complicated.
Yeah. Kevin with 5 here. I've seen EmpLemon's videos. The Homer's Enemy and Dale Earnhardt videos stood out to me the most. Just wait until Ambassador Fair Lady debuts. Oh my God, we're less than 30 project away.
Wow.
Alex with the 2. Hi Cosmo from me and my corgi Gordy.
Gordy the corgi, I love that. Cosmo left a while ago, but yeah, he'll get to know all of the chat in due time.
I'm gonna say it unless like a nondescript random NWP on an off weekend that I'm totally holding out the dog that I got a couple months ago on the chat.
Yeah.
Not gonna say anything else. I don't want anyone else to spoil it, but I'm just gonna wait until the right time to make that happen. So watch every week. Alex asked, by the way, what breed, Eric?
Hell if I know. Mix of everything.
Oh, American Mutt.
Classic. Definitely some Dachshund, maybe like some Pomeranian or...
Is the dog still there?
No.
Dog
left. Dog was wanting to get out.
Claudia just texted me and said, I want to see the doggy.
Rewind.
Rewind to like the 1 hour mark.
I like how most people didn't even acknowledge what I said in the chat. That makes it even better. Joe,
they're getting really close. I think they might pull it out.
I better hurry. 18 to go. Job here says, hope you guys don't get bored the next weeks. Greeting from the Netherlands. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate you watching. I've noticed that our worldwide audience from anywhere but America is there's been so many more of you, and I appreciate it. I love hearing where you guys are from.
The W is changing from weekly to World NASCAR World Podcast.
I like that.
That's not bad, honestly.
I like it, Picasso. Daniel here with the 5. I would like to hear from the owner of Indy and the 12-car, Roger Penske's opinion. What is his opinion on the Indy race? probably not happy since his car lost. Oh my God, it just reset. Oh my God, how many more?
They're 9 more away. They just need 9 more.
Wow.
Oh, no, less than that. They need 6 more.
Fred Dog jumped back on with a membership and gifted 5. I believe that's Eric. I think that's where you get your membership.
They need 4 more. So. They're gonna get it. They're gonna get it. Oh my gosh, they're gonna pull it out. I'm so proud of you, chat.
Daniel for the 2 says, you think Larson races Indy 500 again next year? Yeah, I think so. There's too much money to be gained that they I don't think they can say no to it. Austin left 2 more here for 10 each.
I got it.
Oh my God. Okay, so we'll do that after the Super Chat stage break and then end it on out, I guess, or maybe have a third break. We'll make it our Coke 600. It says, if each of you guys could start a 4-car cup team and you could put any driver in NASCAR history in their prime, who would you pick to be on your team? Personally, I'd pick JG, Dale, Larson, and Harvick.
Gordon's an easy one.
Yeah, Dale, Gordon, Pearson, and Jimmy. I think those are the top 4 for me.
I'd go Gordon. I think I would take Earnhardt. Pearson's not a bad pick. I don't think I'd go Jimmy, though. I think I would take someone more modern. I would think I would go. Harvick's a good pick, actually. Shit, I might. That's a good pick. I think I'd go Harvick.
I'm gonna pick my 4. 1 way old school. I'm gonna go David Pearson for my way old school. Kind of middle old school. I'm gonna go prime Darrell Waltrip, and then prime recent but still old now. I'm gonna actually say Tony Stewart, and then for a new one to be in there, hard to beat Kyle Larson. So that's my 4. David Pearson, Darrell Waltrip, Tony Stewart, Kyle Larson.
Austin with another one here says, hot take, I don't think the truck series is around in 10 years. Look at the history of the trucks. It's supposedly a feeder system, but no truck champion has ever really won anything in Cup. I feel like that. I mean, I haven't looked, but I feel like that's not 100% correct.
We've had a lot of Ben Rhodes, Matt Crafton championships recently.
Well, Greg Biffle was pretty good.
Biffle is a good one. I mean, Eric Jones won a truck title, right? And he's won a few Cup races.
Austin Dillon, Christopher Bell, he still has a lot.
Oh yeah, Bell. Did Bell win the truck title?
Probably gonna be one of the best.
2017. But I mean, he has a point. Like if you look compared to especially Xfinity, and granted it's a lot smaller span, but it's not exactly as Cup accolade filled. So yeah, good point.
I mean, let's be honest. This electric car for now is all fun and games, but it's gonna be something one day, you know. And we could see a period where the American auto manufacturer sees more reason to push electric vehicles, and that could be what the truck series becomes.
We're gonna have an entire series of cyber trucks. Imagine that template. Daniel for the 5 here says, which movie do you like more, Days of Thunder or Talladega Nights or Cars? Days of Thunder. With Cars is second and Talladega Nights buried under the ground.
Yeah, I'd go Cars.
Yeah, Talladega Nights is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, that movie to me set the sport back 20 years. Fred Dog with another 5 gifted memberships. Isaac for the 5 here says, I know I'm in no position to ask this of y'all, but can you guys pray for my family? We just lost my grandmother, and it's been hard for us all. I definitely.
We'll be thinking of all you guys. That's really sad.
I know how that is, and it's rough, but there's always a good end to it. There's memories, everything like that. So we're definitely keeping in thoughts and prayers for sure. Austin here with the 5 says, y'all remember when guys like Matty D and Corey LaJoie had similar size fan bases, and now they're kind of just either irrelevant or hated? Fans are fickle. That is true. Like in a large sense, fans are very fickle.
But I've also learned you do things to make those fans turn against you on your own too.
Yeah. Isaac for the 3-month member chat says, favorite memory with my grandma seeing SVG's Portland win. Wow, that's a good memory too.
Wow.
Jar Jar here. Misa thinks Kevin Harvick, Disa race director. Ford explains Disa calls. Hisa clearly has no talent. Hisa clearly loves, writes Disa races. Misa knows. It's like Jar Jar. I can barely understand.
Fucking gibberish. I mean.
David Bell, thanks for the 11-month member chat. Hope everyone is doing well this evening. Well, I believe we are. And I hope
fantastic.
I hope you're doing well as well. Jar Jar Banks for the 2. It's makes sense. Kevin Harvick at Fox. He has no talent. Damn yeah. I thought the Harvick hater boy stuff was done, but they just keep coming up.
At least I understood that sentence.
Yeah. Austin, of course, said there shouldn't be a like goal. Love you, though. We will take note of that. Fred Dog with another 5 gifted memberships. I appreciate. Spencer with a 37-month member chat says Eric has Cosmo the dog. We want Wanda too. I think we saw that earlier. Again, I don't tell you. You can guess the name of my dog. Fred Dog 81 for the 5. I keep my promises about gifting memberships. Oh, and by the way, your weekly press F for Kyle Busch.
Dang.
Oh, I like this.
Basically weekly.
Our new super chatter to the channel, Darth Vader for the 2 says he is as clumsy.
Lord Vader.
He is as clumsy as he is stupid. I love that line in Empire. I believe it's Empire. It's been so long since I've been interested in Star Wars. VA Sensation or not Sensation says any ideas for the unlucky silly season news? Well, we talked about it earlier that it could be Corey LaJoy. Gordon the Big Engine for the 5 says, oh, the indignity, Jar Jar's back. I guess I am too. Still could be worse. Could be F1. Damn. And then 2 more here. Jar Jar for the 2 says, Danny, Yusa awesome. Hope to see Yusa at the paperclip. And Rosh Crash Stain for the 2 says, what Indy win is bigger, Xfinity Oval or Cup Road? Probably Cup just because of bigger audience. But
yeah, a cup win is still a cup win.
For most.
You get to kiss the bricks after both, right? So
yeah.
You get a ring. Riley Herbst's got a ring.
Good point.
Wow.
All right, guys. The marathon continues with where'd it go? The let's get this done. The random driver of the week.
Let's do it. I'm running on fumes.
I can't believe we're actually doing it.
I can't either. I can't. This is just a weird show ending in a weird way. So
I can actually just close the page because I'm not going to need to see the chat anymore the rest of the night.
Good
close this.
All right. So just remember that with this, don't look at the chat. You get 3 guesses. Last couple of weeks, Danny won with Shauna Robinson and Carrie Earnhardt. Eric had Mike Stefanik and Mike Skinner. So Eric's hoping Eric's hoping this is a Mike. Our guest, John.
Mike Wallace. My first guess. Lock it in.
I said it.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know you are. And then John won with Dick Trickle. All right, let's get to it. This random driver began racing at the age of 12 with Bandoleros. So,
how long have Bandoleros actually been around?
Your guess is as good as mine.
This random driver never led more than 50 laps in a Cup season.
Oh, so they're trash.
Go back to Bandoleros.
This random driver's first NASCAR start was with Fiddleback Racing. Eric's face.
Okay.
Fiddleback Racing?
I believe so, yeah. Unless I wrote it wrong.
Am I supposed to know this team?
Maybe.
Probably not.
This random driver started on the pole once for the Snowball Derby.
Go back to Bandoleros.
This random driver has been tweeted about 0 times from me, 6 times by Danny, and 7 times by Eric.
Whoa.
We
That's
know
gotta be a
this
record.
person, apparently.
It's got to be a record for this stat. Why are you not talking about him, Jarrett?
I don't know.
Or her. Him or her.
I don't know. This random driver has, I love this. I'm just doing it because of what happened this past week. This random driver has openly and vocally not been a fan of Duke football. And it's literally, I just put that in there because of the new game this week that came out. This random driver has never ran more than 8 laps in a Busch Clash.
But they've been in a Busch Clash.
Mm-hmm. Kyle Weatherman actually once dressed up for Halloween as this random driver.
That feels like a big hint. I just played ping pong with Kyle Weatherman. I should have brought this up.
Bring it up next time.
Fun side tangent. He's pretty good at ping pong.
I want to make a guess.
Yeah.
Garrett Smithley.
You locking in on that one?
Ooh, that's not a bad guess.
But it is still wrong.
Oh, dang. I actually like that guess.
It's a good guess. This random driver actually led 2 laps in their last Cup start.
But never led more than 50 in a single year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm surprised that Chad hasn't got it yet.
Really? Wow. Okay. I don't feel bad at all.
This random driver actually is one of the rare drivers to have a better Cup career than their father or uncle. Should say better racing career than uncle.
It sounds like it's not better by much.
They should all be back in Bandoleros.
This random driver never drove a Chevrolet in any of their Cup starts. I love how right as I said that, somebody guessed Dale Jr. This random driver did run 3 Xfinity races, though, in a Chevrolet.
Okay.
This random driver scored a pole in their last Xfinity start. This random driver finished top 5 in Xfinity points twice.
But wasn't leading laps. I'm still don't know why I'm hung up on that clue. I got no clue.
This random driver never finished better than 3rd in a Cup race that ran to the scheduled distance.
I feel like that ran to the scheduled distance is a key word for some reason.
Yeah, now that makes me think, did they squeak out a win somewhere?
This random driver's birthday is Christmas Eve.
That kind of eliminates one person I was thinking of.
I have a guess. Justin Hailie.
Locking that one in?
Yeah.
You locked it in wrong.
Damn it.
So each of you has one guess off the board.
I felt like that was a decent guess.
I feel like it's definitely someone who still races today.
Yeah.
Of this random driver's 16 career Cup top 5s, only half of them were scored in a race that ended at the scheduled distance. So kind of got
something to that.
Wait,
word.
so
there's something to that you keep saying.
8. So we had 8 top 5 finishes in races. Maybe so it could be like overtime or rain shortened. Technically, oh, don't shrug at me, Jarrett. What the hell? I feel I got no idea. I don't know who this is.
Could be a rain merchant, could be an overtime merchant.
I was thinking about like because you said he had a better career than his dad. He hasn't had a better career. I was thinking of Corey LaJoy, but then I remembered that graphic that was like 200 starts, 0 top 5, 0 top 10, 0.
His dad was a champion.
Yeah, obviously he didn't have as good of a career as his dad, at least not yet. But
This random driver also has 2 career Daytona 500 top 5s.
Wait, say that one again.
This random driver has 2 career Daytona 500 top 5s.
Oh, that's a big. That's the first, like, other than the Kyle Weatherman costume one, which I'm sad I don't know. That's a good one.
To this day, this random driver has the highest Cup finish for a Rick Ware racing driver.
Oh, man, you sure it's not Justin Hailie? Hold on. Wait a second.
This random driver once ran a Where's Waldo car.
Oh, I think I remember this car, but I don't remember who drove it.
Oh, was it? Oh,
You got a guess?
Was it a front row car?
You got a guess?
I think it was.
Was it? No, I was.
Come on, you've been conservative and lost it
No,
before.
no.
But who would have drove for both teams?
I almost had a guess, but I realized it's not right. So now I got to really focus because I think Danny's close.
Every truck start for this random driver was in a Ford. I have like a certain order I put these all in, and I realize as it goes, I have to change the order around at different points.
Every truck start was in a Ford.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not Todd Gilliland then because he drove Toyota.
I was thinking David Gillen, but no, that can't be it. It's not Brett Moffitt, is it? No.
This random driver also never qualified for the NASCAR playoffs.
Okay, well I kind of figured that. Where when you say that, do you mean like in any series or just Cup Series?
Cup.
Okay.
Give me one more clue. I'm gonna sit on this for one more clue. How many guesses? Do I have I have 2 guesses left, right?
2 guesses, but I'm not telling you guys how many clues are left. So
Okay, give me one more clue. I think I can burn one more clue.
okay. This random driver ran throwback schemes to the likes of David Pearson, Ned Jarrett, and Wendell Scott.
Okay, I'm gonna throw out. Is it David Reagan?
You locking in on that one this time?
Yes. I'm thinking
got
34 car. Yes. Oh, baby, yes.
He did drive the 15, didn't he?
He's made.
For
Yeah,
racing?
that's what I was trying to think. I was like, I think he's done a super speedway race
Yeah.
or 2 for Rick Ware.
I couldn't think of who drove for both Front Row and Rick Ware, and I always forget about the Rick Ware starts for him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Waldo one actually helped me out because I was like, I think that was a front row car. And so I was just thinking, who are front row drivers like 10 years ago? And immediately I'm like, David Reagan. And then I wasn't 100% sure.
I knew I'd throw you off on possible retired drivers when I said their last race and not their final race. I was like, just little clues like that. So some other ones here, same amount of Cup wins as Xfinity wins. Let's see, ran for Roush, Gibbs, and MWR.
That would have gave it away.
That's why I skipped that one.
You tried to make it harder for me there.
Let's see.
Look up that where's Waldo
both Cup wins were in 1-2 organization finishes. One for Roush with Matt Kenseth in second, one with Gilliland in second.
I remember that 2011 Daytona race like it was yesterday.
I was on Twitter for this one. According to Danny's own words, this random driver actually won one of his favorite races.
Oh, yeah. I think that would have been the 2009 Food City 250.
Mm-hmm. Another one, just if it like helped you jog the memory, if you knew my dad's name, is this random driver's dad's name. Their first name is also my dad's first name. This random driver is also the last driver at the moment to drive on Chicagoland Speedway.
Oh, was it for like the electric vehicle test?
Yeah,
or
they
something?
tested the EV right before going out to the street course.
That's right. I heard about that.
And at that point, like, if you guys didn't get it from there, I was going to be like one of only 7 drivers to win in the 6 car, ran the 06 in 2006 in a scuffle with Ken Schrader. Like, I was going to start getting like stupid, dumb, easy with it. So
here's another David Reagan fun fact, as long as we're in the David Reagan Appreciation Hour. At one time, he held a speed record at Bristol Motor Speedway in a stock Ford Mustang.
Damn.
I'm looking at this Kyle Weatherman David Reagan costume. Like, what? Why was he wearing a David Reagan costume?
Hold on. I got to say this.
Well, while we're at it, I'll finish these super chats here. Jar Jar Binks for $2 super chats said Jeremy Streamy. Misa cannot spell, and then
Stremy? What did he say?
Jeremy Streamy, and Trevor Blaine.
Wow.
But yeah,
there's a photo on Facebook of Kyle Weatherman with David Reagan from a good number of years ago, but I don't know if I see a costume.
Yeah, I can't find it.
Interesting.
But yeah, that'll do it, guys. What an interesting night. And another one really quick from Garabuki for the 10 saying, all right, gamers, Indy might leave a bad taste in our mouths, but let's go to the break on a nicer note. What's been your favorite moment this season overall? Mine was the Atlanta finish or all of Bristol. I'll say the Kansas race, just the whole Kansas race.
Yeah.
After it rained, I loved it.
Yeah, all the rain and delays were unfortunate, but Kansas was so fun to watch.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that one.
But Bristol and Atlanta are great on mentions as well.
So, yes, next week we will be on Danny B's channel. Going to be a lot of fun on there. July the 31st on a Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Should be an interesting show, all things considered. And I think that about covers it. So, it froze on that screen. So, thank you guys so much for coming on out for the odd NWP of the week. Cannot wait to see you next week, and later. Bye.
Thank you, EmpLemon, for coming on.
Thank you for getting us to our light goal so we don't embarrass ourselves and miss our favorite segment.
Start your